We are live.
Alright. Alright, so hello gamers, it is I, SuperViperT302. You've probably seen me run this game somewhere, but if you have not, this is Super Mario Galaxy 2. I am currently second place for this for the any percent category. I won't be for long though, because I'm about to get bopped. But let's not go into that right away. So let's just go ahead and get started in 3, 2, 1, video games. Alright. So
Viper, take it away. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you. So Galaxy 2 any percent operates quite similarly to Galaxy 1 as well as SM64 in that in order to get to the final level you need to collect a certain amount of stars. In this case it's 70, and we also need to go through the first 6 main worlds of the game. And then that'll allow us to access Bowser's Galaxy Generator, and then we have to collect the Grand Star from there to actually beat the game. So this is in essence a 71 star run. And there's just about like 2.5 minutes of just prologue in this game. So most of it is just going to be me mashing through these text boxes and doing some long jumps. And here we're getting this little Luma guy who's just going to give us the ability to spin, and that spinning basically lets you do everything in this game. You can you can break objects with it, you can take any method of transportation in the game, you can hit enemies, and you can gain more height from your jumps. So here's the first trick of the run. I didn't get it, but I didn't lose too much time to it, so that's fine. So what I was trying to do there was land on that slope, and then jump within the first few frames of landing on it, and that would have caused me to get this sort of slope boost. I'll have a couple more opportunities to show it off later in the run, where basically you can maintain the momentum from the air that you had into the jump off the slope. Unlike Galaxy 1, you actually cannot climb up slopes in this game, which is kind of unfortunate, but the slope boosts look pretty swaggy, nonetheless. So like I said...
Real quick. Is there a moment where you'll have a minute of downtime?
I should have some at some point. I'll let you know when it's good to talk.
Okay, no, the only reason I ask is, can you turn your mic down a little bit on your output?
Alright, sure.
We're doing the middle. But just whenever you have a chance, just slow it down just a bit.
Got it. I slowed it down by like 1.5 decibels there.
Okay, I'll let you know if it's if you need more.
Okay, so here I have potential to get a text skip, but I'm not really going to be going for it. So on this set of 4 text boxes right here, if you waste a few frames on the first 2, I got it. If you waste a few frames on the first 2 and then get the third one frame perfect, you actually skip the 4th one. I don't really go for it, but it does save like half a second if you get it. And with that, we're going to be heading off to the first level of the run, Sky Station 1, and it gets pretty action-packed right from the get-go. So right off the bat here, you're supposed to go through this pipe here to go to the bottom of this planet and then go to the top, but you can wall jump in this game and then you can spin to get onto higher platforms, like so. I'll be doing that a lot to climb walls throughout this game, and if I stand still after this Luma's done talking to me, that cutscene ends about half a second earlier, which is obviously pretty significant. So yeah, you'll be seeing me use a lot of high jumps and spins to climb really tall walls like this one, basically throughout the entire game. And coming up, there's a cool little trick right here that I'm sure you'll enjoy. So what I just did there is a trick known as Luma Bounce, where you do a homing ground pound off that Luma, and you skip its launch star, and you just head straight to the planet it normally takes you to. That saves 10 minutes or 1 second, and if you fail it, you die, but... It's a pretty cool looking strat, pretty easy to do. It's hard to learn, but easy to get consistent at, and it's early on in the run, so it's worth showing off. And right there, I just collected my first common medal. I'll get more into what those do later in the run. And also, as you saw earlier, backwards momentum is superior to forwards momentum in this game, as is the case with any Mario game, so we can just kind of do stuff like that. So here we're off to the first mini-boss of the game. This is Pee-wee Piranha. So what you're intended to do for this boss is spin out its shell about 2 or 3 times to break it, but you can just shatter the whole thing in one go with a ground pound. Like that. And I used star bits there to basically stun him so that he doesn't get away. On this second phase, though, I don't need to do that, because he takes a lot longer to run away. So it's easier to get the quick spin here. And there you go. So that is star 1 out of 71 for this run. So something I should probably bring up now, because you probably noticed this run is in the 3-hour length range, is that part of the reason why this game is so long is because this game has a lot of downtime, similar to the first Galaxy game, and that you usually have anywhere between like 45 seconds to a minute between stars, and most of it's just like dialogue and cutscenes and whatnot. But the gameplay still, I think, makes up for it, even if it does add quite a bit of length to the run. And it's worse early on here because this fat purple idiot, aka Lubba, but we're going to call him Purple Idiot because that's what he is. He's just going to kind of stop us after pretty much every single level for the first half of the game and tell us crap we don't need to know. Like right here, this is just story exposition that no one cares about. And here, it doesn't actually matter if you hit yes or that's right. Either way, you get the same results, so I just like to hit one of each. Want to make them both feel respected. So now he's going to use the power of this one star to transform this little planet thing into Starship Mario. This is the hub world for the game. And pretty much anytime we're on Starship Mario, our goal is to head straight to that yellow button that takes us to the world map. And right here, I'm actually going to hold down after the purple idiot finishes talking. And that will cause me to face the camera, so that I can just backflip straight to the button from here. That's generally what I'm going to do. Sometimes I'll be brought to other parts of the starship after various stars, and I'll just have to make my way to the button from there. So in terms of routing in this game, because this game uses sort of a world map style progression, it is somewhat linear at first, but as we get later into the game, there will be a lot more options as to what stars we can collect. But again, early on, it's pretty condensed. So actually, right here, I'm actually going to go back to Sky Station. We're going to get the second main star, or as we call it, Sky Station 2. An important bit of tech I should talk about here is that whenever I want to select one of these clear stars on the Star Select menu, I'm actually going to point my Wii Remote off screen and just mash A, and that allows me to auto-select it. There will be times throughout the game where I'm going to have to manually point at the screen, but those are few and far between. So at the start of this level, there's a pretty tight chomp cycle I need to make here. And I made it, nice. That loses quite a bit of time if you don't make it. And right here you might think long jumping would be the fastest way to traverse this planet, but due to the way the gravity works, right here I'm actually just going to do a single jump, and that's actually faster. There's a lot of weird gravity mechanics like that in these games. And as I'm sure you've already realized, long jumping is the fastest form of movement in this game when you don't have any special upgrades. So on this planet, I want to have pretty decent movement so I can make an optimal cycle here with these moving elevators. So far, that's looking pretty good. And right there, I skipped that one-up by wall jumping in a precise manner. Okay, that doesn't matter too much. So when you collect your first one-up, you get a short little text box, but I'm guaranteed to grab a one-up at some point in the run anyway, so it doesn't really matter that I skipped it there. These flip switches, nothing too much to say about them. Something I should probably talk about here, because the rest of this level is pretty straightforward, is landing cancels, because that's a huge optimization thing in this game. So whenever I land from a launch star, for the most part, you're going to see the camera sort of twitch like this. Like that. And that's me going into first-person mode and then exiting it as soon as I land. Which cancels this 1-second landing animation that normally happens after you land from a launch star, and obviously that will add up over the entire run because you take a lot of launch stars. I wanted to focus there so I didn't fall off and die. Another form of landing cancels that you'll see me go for at the start of most stars is so you have 1 to 2 frames, depending on the level, where you can actually jump out of a landing animation. And this is useful because you can't always enter first-person mode on most planets. So it's actually better to just try to jump out of it. But I'm only really going to be going for this at the start of various levels because it is frame perfect in a 60 FPS game. So now we're going to be heading off to Yoshi Star Galaxy. If you are familiar with Galaxy 2 glitches, you are probably familiar with the fact that Yoshi is the most broken thing in this game. because with Yoshi, there is an incredibly broken trick you can do known as infinite fluttering, and it allows for a ton of sequence breaks or just accessing areas you're not normally able to access. And Yoshi Star 1 is a bit of a early game reset point, because there's a skip I'm going to go for here that saves roughly 20 seconds and loses about 45 if you fail it. So I'll explain what infinite fluttering is after I actually get the skip, but for now we're just going to kind of try and demonstrate it. So I'm going to call for some serious time here. Okay, that's not gonna work. There we go. Got it first try, nice. So the way infinite fluttering works is normally when you do a flutter with Yoshi, you're not able to start another flutter right away because there's this sort of cooldown time that has to take place. But you can crouch mid-flutter, and that cancels both the flutter and the cooldown animation, and so you can use that to basically flutter as many times as you want. And so I used it there to gain distance, and right here I can use it to gain height. And when you're infinite fluttering sideways like that, as you saw me do for that skip, you want to be holding an angle that's slightly sideways and also in the direction of Yoshi's back. Because then you gain the most momentum. But once you're in the air for longer than 10 seconds, you actually lose almost all of that momentum, and you're reduced to a very slow crawl, either forwards or backwards, or either forwards or sideways. So there's two things you can do to get around that, which I both did for that skip. One, if you bounce off of an object, that resets that timer, which is why I bounced off that berry. And another is if you dismount at the end of a flutter, you maintain all momentum you had going into the dismount. So I use that to basically enter that gravity field with just enough momentum left. And I'm pretty much going to be infinite fluttering to do in some fashion anytime I get on Yoshi, because it's just so broken, and you move a lot faster with it anyways. And there's some pretty big sequence breaks you can do with it. Like, in Yoshi Star 1, I skipped one planet. In this level, I'm basically going to be skipping the entire level. I'm basically just going to get on Yoshi and then infinite flutter straight to the boss planet. This is slightly less tricky than the first one, in my opinion, but there is an awkward camera change midway through that I have to keep in mind of.
Yes!
There you go. That is not the right angle. Alright. Alright, got it. The thing with infinite fluttering is that once you get the rhythm down, it really just comes down to memorizing what angles you need to hold. Now I got to fight Giga Like Key 2, which is a pointer-based fight. Not exactly fun when you don't have a sensor bar that's cooperative. So I'm actually going to wait for him to start an attack here, and then I'm going to go grab the checkpoint just for safety. This loses literally no time. Now I'm going to try a funny trick. Got it. If you uncrouch and spin on the same frame, you can get that sliding animation glitch. It is completely useless. Okay, I'm surprised that worked. So what I did there was I tongued both of those Spinies once, and then I threw the first Spiny at Giga Like Key 2, and I have the second one stored. So I can shoot it at him right then without having to wait for him to shoot out any more Spinies, which saves about 8 to 10 seconds or so, depending on how well you do it. And that finishes off the first 4 stars in the run. So again, that infinite flutter skip I did to skip to the boss planet saves probably somewhere in the order of like a minute, which is how much some of these infinite flutters can save. So up next, I'm going to be going to Spin Dig Galaxy, where we get to show off the first of Mario's actual power-ups. And this is a power-up that's actually new to this game, the Spin Drill, where if you have it and you spin on a planet that has dirt in it, you can actually drill to the other side of the planet. And so this level is obviously all about using that on several different planets, but you can kind of skip the spin drill on most planets because Mario can jump in this game, which Nintendo seemed to not take into account. And you'll see what I mean by that very quickly here. Like right here, you're supposed to use the spin drill to get to the top of this planet here, or you can just use a triple jump. Like that, and that saves a lot of time. On this next planet, I'm going to utilize another homing ground pound for momentum. A homing ground pound is basically a spin followed immediately by a ground pound that will home in onto the nearest item, enemy, or NPC. So I'm going to use it off the spin drill here, and just gain a little bit of momentum. So I have to go out of my way here to collect this comet medal. Coming up is a nice little skip here. I can jump backwards into the corner of this pillar, and it kind of clips me into the pillar like that, which just skips a couple seconds of walking. This next planet, I have to wait for the Luma, so I'm going to quickly talk about star bits and coins. So you probably noticed I've been shooting away any star bits I collect, and that's actually because when you finish a level, if you have coins or star bits in your inventory, there's text boxes that count them down that waste about 1 second each, and I want to minimize the amount of times I get those in the run. But there are some instances where I'll need star bits, like right here. I'm going to go into first-person mode after I land here, and then shoot Captain Toad in the face with some star bits, and that skips a few little text boxes with him. Pretty funny skip there. So this is Dig-a-Leg. This boss is one of the first real instances of RNG in the run. It's not too significant, but it can make a difference of up to several seconds. So I'm going to be sort of pressing up against Dig-a-Leg here, and I actually wanted to jump on top of me. Not like that, but there's a pretty easy backup for it to mitigate that. So if he were to jump on top of me, he would have jumped straight to the other side of the battlefield and immediately become vulnerable, which would save a few seconds. That was actually not a great first phase there. I also want to try to keep these yellow Diggas alive if possible. Okay, bad RNG. Okay, so this is what he would have done if he landed on top of me. Alright, so this is a pretty bad Dig-a-Leg. If I kept the yellow Diggas alive, then he wouldn't have tried to spawn anymore before getting hit, which saves additional time. But that was a pretty atrocious Dig-a-Leg. I probably lost like 10 seconds to that. Maybe a little bit less. Fortunately, like I said, RNG does not, in the scope of a 3-hour run, that RNG does not make a huge difference, especially for just being early on in the run. So this probably looks different to you than what you expected. Sometimes the Purple Idiot brings us down to the bottom of the starship to introduce like new NPCs to us, but that's just time wasted. And you can interact with the NPCs for some cool tips and stuff, but there's no need to do that in a speedrun. So anytime I'm down here, I'm just going to go straight to the yellow button. Fortunately, there's star bits here, and those don't waste time to collect. So up next on our agenda, we're going to go to Right Side Down Galaxy. So this is a galaxy that sort of plays with the idea of being in different gravity fields and the ability to switch between them. So there are arrows that depict whether or not gravity is on the floor or the ceiling, and you can easily tell where they are. What's nice about this level is that Nintendo placed objects in very convenient ways that allows for really nice sequence breaks, and I'll kind of get to those as we go through the level. You'll see what I mean. So to start, we have this really cool backflip that if I do it right, gets me all the way down to the flower. Alright, so right here you're supposed to hit a gravity switch to reverse the direction of gravity, but there's an item block right here, where I can just use this instead and just jump all the way down to where that would normally take me. Alright, here's another slow boost. Alright, got it. So that's what a slow boost looks like. So, right here you're supposed to hit another gravity switch, but once again, these elevators are conveniently placed right next to where I need to go. And so we can just skip that. coming up are some pretty risky box skip strats using the Fire Flower here. I'm going to try to skip breaking some of these boxes. It's super easy to die when doing this. Alright, got the first one. The second one's not too bad. There we go. So what's risky about trying to skip those boxes is that if you get crushed in this game, regardless of how much health you have, you're automatically dead. So that's the risk of long jumping under the boxes like that. And here you can just kind of skip the entire rest of the stage by just long jumping on the side there. You might think you're not supposed to go out there, but actually Nintendo meant for you to be able to go up there because there are actually one-ups in the four corners of that platform. So yeah, all in all, a pretty interesting level. Got a lot to it. So now I'm going to re-enter right side down to enter the hidden star or secret star. I'm going to have to manually point at the screen to select this star, but thankfully because I've already seen the level intro cutscenes for this star, I can just mash A to skip through them. Like so. So here I'm going to do another gravity lever skip by just jumping straight into the pipe that leads to the secret. Alright, nice. I got a little momentum jump there so I could skip doing a wall jump. So in this pipe here is a box burning minigame where I have to burn all of these boxes within a time limit. This is sort of reminiscent of the trash minigames from Galaxy 1. And it's pretty difficult to do this casually, but even in speedrunning, it's really hard to do this optimally. Especially this minigame. Alright, that was a missed shot. Alright, I had a couple missed shots there, but a 12 on the clock is still really, really good. The best I've ever gotten is a 13, so even with those mistakes, a 12 is really good. And that's it for right side down. So here the Purple Idiot is going to introduce a certain Toad to us, and I want you to keep him in mind for later. Because you've probably noticed since I'm not collecting any star bits in the game, you're probably wondering, well, where am I going to get all my star bits from for Hungry Luma Galaxies? And this guy's going to come into mind later, so just remember him. So up next I'm going to go to Fluffy Bluff Galaxy. This is a pretty fan favorite power-up, the Cloud Flower, where you can make clouds in midair and cross gaps you're otherwise unable to. Some intended, some unintended. So I'm going to do a Fluffy Bluff Secret first. This star requires collecting 100 coins to feed a Hungry Luma, which, funnily enough, is the most coins required to feed a Hungry Luma in this game, even though this is the first one you can do. But there's two pretty good locations I can go to get coins from. So I'm going to long jump into this Cloud Flower, and because of the text box, Mario's going to face the camera, which means I can get some backwards momentum there. That's pretty cool. So in this pipe room, I can get 60 coins. I have to be really careful to not let this timer run out here, or else I have to ditch the star. Because there's pretty much no good backup for getting coins you would miss from missing this. But yeah, I can leave this room with exactly 60, and then I can get the remaining 40 on the cloud where the Hungry Luma is. So hopefully I don't miss any here, or else it's a pretty annoying time loss. Alright, we're good. And now I'm going to feed them all to this Luma, and he's going to just transform into an entire planet, because Nintendo logic. So this tower climb coming up here is going to involve a lot of cool cloud tech that I'll explain after I'm done with the star, and I'm just going to kind of let you watch, so enjoy the movement. I'll just let it speak for itself, and then I'll explain everything I'm doing afterwards. Alright, nice. That was really good. So the first big piece of contact you need to know is crouch canceling. You can cancel a lot of animations by crouching in this game, including the one for making a cloud, which allows you to move right away. And that also allows me to utilize the cloud's upwards bounce. Moving platforms can actually give Mario's jumps inertia. So if a platform is moving upwards, then his jump will go a lot higher. And that's what I was using to get a lot of those boosted jumps. And you'll see me use that several times throughout this run, even without clouds. So there's another interesting piece of cloud tech in this game. If you're Cloud Mario and you long jump from the center of a cloud and you're above an abyss, you can actually gain a lot of horizontal momentum, because I guess you're just a lot more floatier. I'm actually going to use that for a pretty big sequence break in this level. So I'm going to go up to this tree, which you're actually not supposed to go to for Fluffy Fluff 1. And there kind of just isn't a death zone here, so we can just kind of long jump off this cloud. And then using a couple of well-placed clouds, I can make my way all the way to the last planet of the level and skip about a minute of gameplay. Now I'm going to do some cloud-boosted long jumps, so I basically make a cloud while I'm grounded, and then using the upwards bounce of the cloud, I can get a long jump that has slightly more distance and height. Like that. Pretty cool tech. Yeah, the Cloud Flower has a lot of broken physics, which makes it really fun to use in speedruns. So certain stars where you utilize a power-up are tied to being brought down to this engine room where the purple idiot introduces some kind of power-up to us. You actually can't even use the power-ups, you're able to just stare at them and do nothing with them. But this room isn't completely useless, and we don't care to be in here, so we're just going to yeet on out of here as soon as he's done flapping his gums. And we got some pretty awkward movement to do back to the button here, and I screwed it up. I was trying to triple jump there, but it can be really awkward because you have to do kind of precise angling. So each of the first 6 worlds in this game has a castle boss level in it, and they alternate between Bowser Jr. and Bowser stages. They're usually really, really hard, and these are where I get the grand stars from to go from world to world. So both the stage and the boss here are really difficult to get down. In this stage, I have to make a pretty tight cycle with that thwomp, and the movement I'm going to be doing is very easy to die to. So hopefully I can get this. This cycle loses about 4 seconds if you miss it. I might still be able to make this. Alright. I'm gonna have to opt for a slower strat to get up here, but I made the cycle. A little bit slow, but we made it. And this planet just has a huge gravity field, so I can just long jump straight into it. So now I'm gonna fight Gobblegut, and you're supposed to, like, Gobblegut dig a space into the planet, and then you attack each of the bellyache bulges as they fly past. But you can actually attack him while he's in the air. The problem with the strats I'm gonna be doing is that I basically want nothing to go wrong in this setup, or else it's a colossal time loss. So for this first phase, I'm gonna try to attack bulges 5, 6, and 1 in order. And right from this first long jump, it's extremely tight. So hopefully I don't mess this up. It's really hard to back it up. Alright, perfect first phase. So now in the second phase, I'm going to run down and in a straight line, and this will cause Gobblegut to follow me and get close enough to the planet to where I can just turn around at a specific time and get the last 3 bulges back to back to back. Like that. And that's a perfect Gobblegut fight. I just made that look way easier than it actually is. That fight takes a very long time to get down. And the best part is, in this category, we have to do that fight twice. So there's another chance for me to screw that fight up later. But that's not for another hour and a half, so we don't have to worry about that for now. And that's it for World 1. So with every Grand Star we collect from these castle levels, that'll allow us access to the next world. And I hope you enjoyed this cutscene, because you're going to have to watch it after every one of the first 5 worlds. And it's pretty lengthy. Something I should probably point out is in the lower right-hand corner there, you see a time that says 1:40.46. That's actually the in-game time that I got for that level. The game keeps track of that after every level you complete, and it's useful both obviously that's what we use for IL times, for IL records, but also if you're practicing for consistency, that can be a really good tool to use so that you can see what kind of times you're getting compared to other runners. And that's a nice feature Galaxy 2 has over Galaxy 1. So now we're coming up on World 2. We're not going to be spending too much time in World 2 for now. There's not too many stars we need to get here for the time being. And for the most part, some of these stars are pretty straightforward. So Puzzle Plank, I'm sure you all love this music. It's a pretty popular song. This level is mostly just kind of movement and doing puzzles. There's a few things here and there that I'll point out when I get to them. But again, this level is kind of straightforward for the most part. And again, I'll just point out stuff when I get to them.
Yes.
So on this planet coming up here, I'm going to skip going to the bottom half of it by just backflipping to the launch star. And now would be a good time to talk about spin heights. So I'm going to be doing this entire run as Mario, and an important thing to know about spin heights is that when you're spinning, you generally want to hold the A button because you get more height from your spin that way. Another thing is that with Mario, spinning with the Wii Remote is actually advantageous for height as opposed to spinning with the nunchuck. Because for those who don't know, yes, you can spin with the nunchuck in this game. This movement is pretty scary. If you get hit by one of these buzzsaws, it can be pretty easy to just get knocked off the stage and die. But we made it. So, on this planet, there's some really weird gravity things that can happen here with these puzzle pieces, and sometimes you can actually hit these puzzle pieces more than one time with a single ground pound. No one knows why or how to replicate it consistently, but it can save a couple seconds if it happens. Alright, I didn't get any, but doesn't lose too much time. Now I just have to do this little mini boss fight from Galaxy 1. You'll find out very quickly we like to kill the animals here in Super Mario Galaxy 2. Alright, I'm pretty far ahead of the star, so I'm going to shake backwards so that I get it. Alright, got it. So, after this star, the Purple Idiot is going to introduce a actually pretty useful world map sequence for us. So, the Grand World Map is what allows us to travel from world to world as opposed to between individual galaxies in each world. It's really hard to kind of explain in words, but basically, if I want to travel from like World 4 to World 1, then I can just zoom out to this Grand World Map, which we're going to see here in a second. And I can go straight from World 4 to World 1 instead of having to backtrack through each individual world. And I am going to be doing some world jumping later in the run, but not now. It'll be midway through World 3 when you start seeing me do that, but that's going to be really, really useful, and it saves a lot of time. So in Hytale Falls Galaxy, we get introduced to the Dash Pepper, which is a Yoshi exclusive power-up, and when he eats it, he goes really, really fast. And he can also climb up vertical walls, because, again, Nintendo logic. I'm going to be grabbing Star Bits throughout this level, because you can't spit them out while you're on Yoshi, and they're basically unavoidable, so might as well. So the nice thing about the Dash Pepper is that it's one of the few power-ups that actually persists between launch stars. So I'm going to try to keep its effect going for as long as possible, so I can maximize the time save I get from the speed boost. On this planet, I'm actually going to go up the left path, which is a lot harder, but there's an extra Dash Pepper here I can grab. That turn there is really, really tight. And I can also grab this Dash Pepper late to maximize the effects from it. And coming up is a pretty weird Infinite Flutter strat, where I'm going to be jumping off this platform as it's lowering, and while I still have Dash Pepper momentum. And that'll allow me to maintain that momentum while Infinite Fluttering in a somewhat forward direction, which allows me to just make it all the way here. And And that saves a decent amount of time. There's a much easier way to infinite flutter skip that, but that's the fastest method. Alright, coming up is a cool strat, so don't blink. Got it. So I skipped sort of that last little bending section at the end there by abusing the... when you dismount off of Yoshi, you maintain all your momentum. That's that logic applied to dismounting off of Dash Pepper Yoshi while going up a really steep slope, which gives you a lot of height and distance. So you can just kind of propel yourself into the star there. And it looks really cool, and saves a decent amount of time. So now we're going to get to go to a bit more of a relaxing level here in Cosmic Cove Galaxy. This level doesn't have a whole lot in terms of strats to it, but routing-wise, this is probably one of the most interesting galaxies in the run. Because while I'm doing Cosmic Cove 1 first, I am going to be also collecting 15 coins to defeat a Hungry Luma. And I'll sort of explain all that by the end of the level. At the start here, I'm going to take a little detour to get this Koopa Shell and get these Star Bits. So I want the Star Bits because these noodles, when you kill them with Star Bits, instead of just killing them normally, you get coins, otherwise you'd get Star Bits. And so I want to do that twice in this route. And I'm using the shell because in Galaxy 2 there is a cooldown between underwater spins, so you can't just spam spins underwater to go fast. So this is actually the faster way to travel underwater in this game. Which is nice because you don't have to do nearly as much exercise. So really, due to the way everything's placed, because you got this giant line of coins right next to the Kama Medal, which is right next to the switch that freezes the lake, which is right next to the Hungry Luma. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out of the water here using the shell. And I'm going to hit the switch to freeze the lake, and then I'm going to go feed these coins to the Hungry Luma, but I'm actually not going to be taking its launch star. This launch star is actually going to stay when I re-enter the galaxy. So I can actually just go ahead and feed it now and then get Cosmic Cove 1, and then I can come back for this and get the secret star by itself next time I enter. So now I can just skate my way over to these waterfalls and wall jump up them to get this star. That was a very good level. Alright, so coming up is one of the most important parts of the run. So, I mentioned earlier that typically when there's a clear star on the star select menu, I want to auto-select it by pointing my Wii Remote off screen. This is in a situation where I actually don't want to do that. Because I don't have access to the launch star in Cosmic Cove 2 for the secret star. So I'd have to sit through the level intro cutscenes and then wait until Mario lands and then exit course. So I just have to remember to select Cosmic Cove 1. In my practice run for this, I did my sensor bar glitched out and made me select Cosmic Cove 2 by accident. So let's hope that doesn't happen. That loses like 30 seconds if it does happen. Alright, we're good. So again, since I don't have to feed the Hungry Luma again, I can just make my way directly to the launch star. And as you can see here, these are the, that's the cooldown between spins. I have to wait for that Luma to go back into Mario's hat before I can spin again while underwater, so it's just a lot slower. I'm kind of upset that I didn't kill that Snoodle, because I want these Star Bits. So you probably remember the bunnies from the first Galaxy game. This is the only one in this game, and there's a pretty decent strat to catch it quickly. Hopefully I don't mess it up. Got it, nice. That was a little sketchy, but nice I made it. So by shooting that bunny with Star Bits, he just runs the wrong way for some reason. So what you're supposed to do to catch that bunny is to hit that blue switch that freezes the lake, and then you skate to catch the bunny. But that saves a decent amount of time, because you can just catch him right away. Alright, so remember that toad I told you to keep in mind for later? He is now going to be important. So this is the bank toad. And what he does is you can deposit... Please talk to him. You can deposit star bits into this bank toad, and it will actually save those star bits across all 3 save files. So these are star bits from another file, but that I deposited into another file, and I can withdraw them into this file. And so I don't have to collect star bits in any galaxies. And I need roughly that many. That's a little bit short, but I can get enough star bits by the end of the run. And these are the star bits I'm going to be using for Hungry Luma Galaxies. So yeah, this is sort of a New Game Plus sort of scenario, but it is the standard for running this game. And you might be wondering why I'm even bothering going out of my way to collect, to unlock Hungry Luma Galaxies, because it does waste a decent amount of time. A lot of Hungry Luma Galaxies have really, really fast stars. And so they're definitely worth going out of the way to get. Which is the same for why I go out of my way to collect comet medals in some galaxies. Because some comet stars that they can unlock are just super fast. It's all about routing balancing. So I'm actually going to be getting both stars in Honeybloom. And this first star I'm going to do is the secret star. It's literally the shortest non-green star in the game. And it's actually relatively simple, movement-wise, so I'm just going to kind of let it speak for itself once again. So enjoy, because this looks really flashy. Yeah, that was pretty fast. Definitely worth it. And here you're going to see an overlapping of events. So because I got Honeybloom's secret, I'm going to be brought down to the bottom of the starship for an NPC to be introduced. But also, I just got 15 stars, which means I'm going to get a letter from the Mail Toad for a chimp challenge in Fluffy Bluff that I'm not going to get. So what's going to happen is after the purple idiot's done talking to me, I'm going to be warped straight to the Mail Toad and get this letter. And this just saves a few seconds of travel time. So that's a cool routing optimization to keep in mind. So now I'm actually going to do Honeybloom 1. This star didn't used to be in the any percent route, but it was found about a year and a half ago, that doing this star over a supermassive one can actually save about 15 to 20 seconds just from having world map situations line up a lot better. This entire star is in 2D, and sort of revolves around the bee mushroom, but we can skip it in a few places. So the important thing that's coming up in this section, you're not supposed to stand on clouds or flowers if you don't have the Bee Mario, but there's a few frames where you can actually jump off of them. Like that. And I'm going to try to abuse that to play this section without Bee Mario. This is pretty tricky to get down. Alright, perfect. That was really good. It's probably the hardest part of the level to get down, because it's super easy to just fall there and lose a ton of time. Now I have no choice but to use Bee Mario, which is unfortunate because he is very, very slow. And he inhibits a lot of movement options you have. Really all you can do is just jump and fly around. So right here I'm actually going to take damage off this chopper to lose the Bee Mushroom so I can get through this section a little bit quicker. Alright, that was really good. And the rest of this level is just going to be me flying around with the Bee Mushroom, so not a whole lot to say. Yeah, basically, the reason why this star is now in the route, even though it seems particularly slow, is because by not doing Supermassive 1 in World 4, you can cause a lot of different world map events to happen and or not happen that end up saving a ton of time overall and make up for the amount of time this star loses. And so, when doing the star at a high level, you can save up to 15 to 20 seconds in the route. I'm going to try to fly directly to the star here. Nice. That was a really good level. A lot can go wrong in that level, so I'm really happy that it went as well as it did. That's a pretty hard level to get down consistently. So we're coming up on the first Bowser level of the run. We're coming up on the World 2 castle. And what I like about Bowser's lava layer is that there isn't one big skip, but rather a bunch of small skips throughout the level. A lot of other really cool tricks that make this a very entertaining level to watch and a really satisfying level to play. But there's also quite a bit of risk that goes into some of the strategies in this level. And also you get to hear Koopa's Road from SM64, which is a nice little reference / homage. Probably the best version of Koopa's Road in my opinion. So here I'm supposed to kill a Magic Koopa to get a Pole Star to go to this next planet, but I don't want to do that because that's stupid, so we're just going to long jump to here instead. And here I can skip this spring by just side flipping to this next cylinder. So right here I'm going to go out of my way to grab this life shroom, and this does lose a little bit of time due to the animation in that text box. But this is going to come into play for a skip later on. But now it's important that I don't go below 4 health, because then I won't be able to get that extra health back. And there's a skip I'm going to do at the end that requires me to have at least 4 health. So here I'm going to do a little lava boost to skip fighting that hammer bro. And get down here. And here I'm turning the camera to manipulate the womps so that they're off camera for a little bit. And right here I'm going to double jump into the lava, which allows me to store a triple jump. Like that. What I was trying to do there was jump off that womp as it was rising up so that I would get backwards momentum. But unfortunately I jumped a little too early. Didn't lose too much time though. So here's the big skip that I needed 4 HP for. Here I'm going to skip a couple of snake block auto-scrollers by just lava boosting to the end. The spacing required for this is somewhat precise. Nice, I got it. So an important mechanic in this game is that, or one that's actually kind of overlooked, is that when you bounce on the lava and then bounce on the floor, you actually do this short little hop, and then you can regain control of Mario. So what I actually used for that skip there was I did that bounce on the first statue, and then I landed in the lava again, but the game remembered that I did that bounce. So the next time I landed on that statue, I was able to immediately begin long jumping, which allows that spacing to work out nicely. So this is the first Bowser fight of the run. Bowser fights in this game are significantly less interesting than in really any other of the Mario games, especially Galaxy 1. Basically, Bowser just summons some meteors, and he punches the planet, and while he's trying to get his fist out, you can ground pound the meteors into him, and you do this 4 times. There's some manipulation you can do to make the fights go by faster, but they're pretty straightforward for the most part. So really all I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to manipulate Bowser to punch as early as possible, like that. And then I ground pound the meteor at an angle to where it travels the least amount of distance between its starting position and Bowser. And I also want Bowser to punch as close to a meteor as possible. So those first 2 hits were pretty good. Now for the 3rd and 4th hits, Bowser's going to breathe fire before he punches. And I actually want to pay attention to where this fire attack ends, because that's where he's actually going to start aiming his next punch, so I can manipulate him into punching right away. Like so. And anytime you miss a hit on one of these Bowser fights, that's about 20 seconds lost. So that's really bad. In other words, don't do it. And it's not so common that it happens in this fight, but in some of the later fights, it's a lot easier to lose a lot of time. Alright. That was a pretty good fight, though. And all the Bowser fights in this game are basically the same, but they get slightly harder each time. So you just gotta sit through some text boxes and a few more cutscenes, and this marks the end of World 2. So right now, there's been some hard levels within those first 2 worlds, but now we're getting into the part of the game where I would really say the run starts to pick up in terms of difficulty. A lot of levels in World 3 are really, really hard, and also at this point, mistakes get a lot more costly. So most tiny mistakes will likely result in some kind of death that's like 30 seconds long. And another thing to point out is that at this point in the run, comets are going to start appearing in a little bit. So the routing is going to start branching out a lot more from here on out. But that won't be for a few more stars. So here in World 3, we have a bit of a branching path to take, and I'm actually going to go to Cloudy Court first, which is the bottom path. And here we get to see a lot more cloud boosting action, so hopefully if you missed that from Fluffy Bluff, now we can do a bit more of it. One thing actually I'm going to talk about right now is that at the end of this level, there's a 2D section that has crushers that move in and out on a cycle, and they have a common metal in the middle of them. And I'm going to go for an early cycle at the end, where I make it through the crushers and get the common metal without having to wait. And you'll see what I mean by the end of this level. Another thing to talk about is something called a 4 cloud strats, that's what I like to call them. I'm going to cloud boost into this cloud flower, like that. And then that replenishes my cloud stock, so I can use the remaining 3 clouds to sort of traverse that gap. And hence you're using 4 clouds for that strat. And there I wanted to face the drum so I could ledge grab off of it, and use all 3 of these clouds here to skip this launch star. I just kind of make it all the way over here. So now we're getting into the 2D section. I'm going to do another 4 cloud strat here coming up in a little bit. And coming up is the 1 cycle through the crushers. This is I have a pretty consistent setup to get this, but hopefully it goes well. Again, I don't want to get crushed here because that's a 1-hit KO. And if I miss this cycle, that's like 10 seconds. But we're good. So yeah, really, really fun level. A lot of really cool tricks you get to do. Okay, so I'm coming up on Freezy Flake's Secret Star next, and this is a star where you, the chat, get to have some fun. So, for the Freezy Flake Secret Star, it's a chimp challenge, where we have to beat the chimp's high score of 500 points. The minigame duration timer is fixed, so there's no way to stop the timer early, and it doesn't actually lose time to get as high of a score as you can. So, if you want to guess what score I'm going to get, you can guess anywhere between 500 and 900 points, and you can only guess in multiples of 10. So stuff like 560, 630, 740 would work. And my ruling for who wins is, if you don't get it, if no one gets it exactly right, whoever is closest wins. Either ahead or behind.
Yes.
Okay, that was kind of slow. Okay, yeah, I didn't think that was gonna work. That was kind of slow. So the secret is just kind of hidden in this pipe over here. So the way these chip minigames work in terms of their patterns, so the pattern is technically the same every single time, but they can be rotated in one of 3 different ways. And once you figure out what rotation you have, it's set from there on out. So I have muscle memory for all 3 different rotations. Also, I'm skating backwards. If you press Z while you're skating, you just start skating backwards. It is completely useless and has no effect on your physics whatsoever, but it looks cool, so I always like to do it. So So yeah, I've already beat the high score, but I can go as far as I want without really losing time. Alright, so whoever gets closest to 870 would have won. And if you missed your opportunity there, don't worry, there's another opportunity later on in the game for you to guess. Yeah, that's usually a really fun level for chat. So I'm going to get one more star in Freezy Flake. I'm going to get Freezy Flake 1. This is a pretty tight level, because I'm going to be on a very strict time limit for most of it. So hopefully I can get that early fireball that I missed in Freezy Flake Secret. It looks really cool if you can get it. Need a precise angle on that throw. Nice, I got it. So I'm going to try to make it all the way into the common metal in the next section using this Fire Flower. I have basically 1 or 2 seconds to spare here. Fortunately, the movement isn't too complicated. So I should be good. Got it. If you miss that, then you would have to get this Fire Flower, blow up the wall to get that common metal, and then basically just wait for the next one to spawn. So that you can go to this section and blow up this Bowser statue, because you just don't have enough time any other way. So that would lose you like 20 seconds. But we made it, so it's fine. And yeah, there I just skipped doing a bunch of platforming by just lava boosting behind the Bowser statue. So, from this point onwards, you're going to start seeing Luigi appear at the start of various levels. You're going to see him briefly here, but we're going to ditch him right away as we do. So, Luigi does run faster and jump higher than Mario, and you can talk to him at the start of some stars where he appears to switch to playing as him for that level. The problem is that even though he would save time within the level, he talks to you both before and after you complete the level, and you can only use him for that one level, so it loses too much time for the amount of time he would save. So this entire run is just going to be done as Mario. Fortunately, though, this game seems more built around Mario for speedrunning anyways, which is nice. And you can only switch between Mario and Luigi freely after you complete the any % portion, so that's out. That's not an option. So at the start of Honey House 1 here, I'm actually going to be turning the camera a few times, because as I alluded to earlier, when moving objects are not on camera, they don't move. For the most part, there are some exceptions. So these moving platforms at the start of the level, that applies to them. So by doing that little bit of camera manipulation, I can actually make a slightly faster platform cycle at the cost of a checkpoint and a decent risk factor. Alright, so this is the cycle you wouldn't otherwise be able to make. It's still pretty tight. What's interesting about this level, though, is that those first 2 paths are actually cycle-based, but these 2 paths actually start moving once you enter a certain radius, or once you get close enough to them. And because you can long jump in this game, you can skip waiting on most of them. And then the common metal platform is kind of cycle-based, but it only starts moving before you enter the launch star. After that, it doesn't really matter what you do. And this section's scary. These boos just like to knock you off the stage. And here we get Yoshi in this section. You probably know what we're going to do. But here we have the Bulb Berry, which I don't really need, but I'm just grabbing it for safety. It illuminates floors underneath you that otherwise just don't exist. You'll see more of it later on. So yeah, we can just infinite flutter straight to the star like that. So something very important just happened, and that's that I got my 4th star from World 3. So from this point onward, comets are going to start appearing in galaxies where I've collected the comet medal and met the comet medal number requirement for them, as well as completed all non-secret stars. So for example, Clavicore only requires 1, and I have the comet medal there, and I've collected the only main star there, so that comet just spawned. I'll go more into some comments later, but I'm going to be letting them build up for a few stars and then making a couple different backtracking sessions to them. So now it's time for Honey Halls 2, aka Long Jump Simulator 2010. Yeah, this level is basically just a bunch of long jumps and a couple spins here and there. Optimizing long jumps in the Galaxy games is a bit more technical than you might think, because you want to press, if you're starting a long jump from a run, you actually want to press Z and A at roughly the same time, so that Mario doesn't enter the crouch animation before he long jumps like that. Because then if he were to start running again, then he would stop for a little bit if he did enter the crouch animation, which would lose some frames. Also, when you're chaining long jumps, there's a small frame window you have where you can press A optimally to not lose too much speed. And again, it doesn't matter, it usually only is like a couple frames each time, but obviously over the course of a 3-hour run that can add up if you're not paying attention. This section can be pretty scary. If you get thrown off your rhythm here, it can be really hard to adjust, and it's super easy to die. And you have just enough space there to long jump. Right. Again, pretty straightforward level. So now I'm going to go to Beat Black Galaxy, which is another Hungry Luma Galaxy. This Hungry Luma is kind of interesting because for some reason the last star bit always shoots out late. Or it shoots out later than the rest, which is actually useful because since you can move during the Hungry Luma cutscenes, I always set up a backflip to the button, and this just allows me to time the backflip a little bit easier. There's another bit of Hungry Luma tech that is kind of subtle and hard to notice. But I'm actually going to be holding B through these text boxes, and once I'm able to start feeding the Hungry Luma, it will only start shooting star bits if it's pointed at the Hungry Luma. So there's that last late star bit. So what that allows me to do is, basically, it makes it so that I don't lose any time or star bits by not pointing at the Hungry Luma. And it ensures that I'm only shoot star bits if I'm pointing at the Hungry Luma. So Beat Block is another level that's kind of just a bunch of long jumps, but it's also very cycle-based, because every 8 beats of the song, it'll switch between the yellow and green blocks being active. And missing the optimal cycle here can cost around 8 seconds or so. So I want to have some pretty good movement here. I actually do kind of want to take it slow at the start, though, so that I avoid getting caught on these green blocks up ahead, because I can easily throw you off. So I'm going to kind of slow down here. And now I can just move on forward. And here I just gotta collect some silver stars. Alright, that last long jump can be pretty scary because the angle is not in the notches of your controller, so it can be really hard to decipher. Alright. That was the optimal beat block 1 cycle, so we're good. Again, I'm just letting comments build up for now. I'll make a backtracking session for them in a little bit. So right now I'm going to go to Tall Trunk 1. This level has a lot to it, and it's really satisfying to pull off optimally, but there's also a lot of really difficult parts of this level. So on this first planet, you're supposed to use Yoshi and the Blimp Fruit to climb this tree, but that's slow. And Mario just happens to be very good at jumping and whatnot, and it turns out his jumps are enough to climb the tree without Yoshi, which saves a few seconds, but it's quite a bit more difficult. Especially the second long jump coming up here. Okay, that was not going to work. That was a really bad angle. That long jump is pretty precise. Alright, that was a little bit slow, but we made it. So no Yoshi there, but we can use Yoshi here to a great extent. Coming up as an infinite flutter that's straight backwards, which is kind of risky, because if I miss this comet medal here... If I missed that comet medal, I would have had to grab the blimp fruit or flutter forwards to get it, and that kills your ability to flutter backwards, which can lose a lot of time. And right here I can just grab all 5 of these starships in one full fall. And I'm ditching Yoshi here, mainly because it helps me get to this launch star a little bit faster, but also because I can do the ground pound to fall down this section, so I can travel down a lot quicker. Like that. And Yoshi will just be in his egg ready for me. Unfortunately here I have no other choice but to use the blunt fruit to climb up this tree. There is one little optimization I'm going to do here, is that coming up I'm actually going to shake out of the blunt fruit early using the nunchuck, so that way I can keep my Wii remote pointed at that blunt fruit. And you might think Yoshi's going to get his time to shine in the star animation cutscene, but no. I'm a cruel person. The quick little fun fact here, if I drop Yoshi in a pit, he doesn't actually die. He just transforms back into an egg when he hits the death barrier and then respawns somewhere else, so don't think I'm ever killing Yoshi. He is immortal and will never die. So now we're going to start doing comets. We're going to start with Cloudy Quartz Comet here. So as I said earlier, comets appear when you've collected the comet medal in that galaxy and have a certain number of comet medals total. So if I'm collecting a comet medal from a galaxy that doesn't even have a comet, it's to add to that comet medal counter, which I want to be at 32 by the end of this run. And comets are usually altered versions of various stars that have some kind of challenge to them, and they're usually really fast, so again, they're worth going out of the way to get. So in this star, I'm going to have cosmic clones chasing me the entire time. And, except for this section, potentially, because, okay, if you just barely touch the edges of these starships, you can prevent the cosmic clones from ever spawning, but I didn't get it. But it's not a huge deal. But now we're getting to the section in 2D. This is where the cosmic clones can be a bit of a problem. If you happen to screw up a wall jump here, they will make the same mistake. And so when you try to get back up, they are all in the way, because they copy your inputs frame perfectly. And it makes this level impossible. But we're past all the hard parts now, so as long as I don't stupidly die, we're good to go. Yeah, and pretty simple level. So at this point, I don't quite have enough stars to get to the boss level in World 3, and there's no more quick stars in World 3 that I want to collect, so I'm going to begin my first backtracking session of the run to get some comets that I didn't get earlier. So I'm going to use my handy-dandy grand world map here for the first time, so here I'm going to zoom out, and then just go straight to World 2 so I don't have to backtrack all the way. So funnily enough, Puzzle Planks Comet here, this unlocks every purple coin comet in the game, but in order to get this star to appear, you need Cloudy Quartz Comet, because that unlocks every Cosmic Cone Comet in the game. And so I'm getting this comet now because there's some purple coin comets in World 4 I'm going to want to get in my first visit. Also, this is just a fast star. This star is easier said than done. It is super hard to collect all 4 of these purple coins without missing them and without stopping. So hopefully I get this movement down. And you have cosmic clones chasing you the entire time, which is fun. Alright, I thought I missed a coin there, but we're good. So here I'm going to be doing some little jumps here, because this actually speeds Mario up by a little bit, as opposed to just walking. Alright, that was actually pretty good. Now I can try to get to the star without collecting a star bit. Nice. That was almost perfect. So now I have access to any kind of comet in the game, provided I meet all the other prerequisites. So I still need a few more stars. Really just 2 more, but I'm going to get 3 more for routing convenience in order to finish off World 3, so we're going to go to World 1 now and get a couple comets. So, Sky Station Comet is a speedy comet. We're just going to kind of ignore how Nintendo chooses to spell speedrun. Galaxy 2 introduces a new twist on the speedy comets, where in this level I have 20 seconds, which is nowhere near enough time to finish this level, but there are clocks throughout the level that add 10 seconds to my time, so I want to route those in whenever possible. Fortunately, though, this is also a shortened version of Sky Station 1 because you skip like 3 planets. Also, this is one of the best songs in the game, but unfortunately you don't get to hear much of it in the speedrun. I gotta get this clock here. I'm gonna get another clock during this long jump. And I'm already on the boss planet. So this is going to be the same Pee-wee fight as before, where I'm going to try to ground pound Pee-wee's shell instead of spinning at it. There is actually a soft block you can get on this fight. If you shoot Pee-wee with star bits right before the cutscene begins, then the cutscene never starts and you're unable to interact with Pee-wee in any way. Fortunately, if that happens on the Comet, that's not too bad, aside from just being an insignificant time loss. But in Sky Station 1, it actually forces a reset. So thankfully that didn't happen. So now I'm going to go to Yoshi's Star Comet, which, funnily enough, doesn't even have Yoshi in it. So this is the first of 4 Romp Comets in the game that I'm going to be doing in this run. Romp Comets are new to Galaxy 2 in that you have to kill a bunch of enemies within a time limit, and there's usually some sort of special gimmick. In this level, it's the Rainbow Star, which is sort of like an invincibility star. The important thing to note about the Rainbow Star, though, is that while you have it, as long as you're running on the ground, you can build up P-speed. And I want to try to maximize the amount of time I'm at this P-speed, which means not bumping into walls, which is a lot harder to do than you might think. By the way, that's a jump cancel. So movement here is really, really tough. Another thing is that moving objects don't update when they're off camera thing also applies to these Spinies. So if I kill a Spiny and then it goes off camera, the counter doesn't update until the Spiny fully dies on camera, which has caught a bunch of players off guard. But an easy way to get around that is to just turn the camera around a bunch of times if you think you missed one. I missed that Spiny earlier, so I have to go get it now. Alright. That was a little slow at times, but overall not too bad. And now, we got one more star to do before I can move on to the boss level of World 3. And this is, again, just in here for routing convenience. So now I'm going to do Flip Swap. And this is yet another Room Galaxy. Flip Swap has a similar gimmick to Beat Block, where every time you spin, it transitions between the red and blue platforms, being which ones are up. And obviously this means casually you want to keep track of where you spin. But there's a really cool trick you can do with these platforms, where they sort of rise upwards as they're transitioning, which means you can long jump off of them as they're rising upwards and gain a huge amount of inertia to your jump. And I call these super jumps. And they allowed for some pretty cool skips over parts of this level. I'm going to be going for a total of 5 of them, and they're all really, really difficult. Well, a couple of them are harder than others, but it's super easy to die if you miss some of them, especially these first 2. Fortunately, this is a pretty fast level anyways. Two jump cancels in a row, nice. So here we go. Whee! Gonna go for another one here. Like that. So another bit of tech that's useful in this level is that you can actually cancel a spin with a long jump or a single jump, which I can use to transition platforms like that without losing momentum. I'm actually going to use that right here to get a mini super jump off this platform as it or not. Nice. Alright. So by having this be the last star I collect before finishing off World 3, I can have its Comet Spawn cutscene get skipped by having it overlap with the Grand Star cutscene. Because that takes priority, and therefore this Comet Spawn cutscene just doesn't happen, which saves like 5 seconds. I'm actually going to be doing that 2 more times in this run. So now we're going to be going on to Bowser Jr.'s Fearsome Fleet, which is the boss level of World 3. And if you thought the infinite flutters you've seen so far in this run are crazy, this is probably the craziest one in the entire run. So this entire level is just a bunch of auto-scrollers under normal conditions, but you get Yoshi right at the start, and the level is all one height. And you can just kind of infinite flutter basically from beginning to end. The strat I'm going to be going for here requires 3 separate flutters, and this is probably the hardest set of flutters in the run. And if I die at any point in this strat, I don't get any checkpoints. So I would go all the way back to the beginning and lose a lot of time. So let's not do that. So at the start here, I'm going to get on the Yoshi egg and then flutter to this asteroid that for some reason has collision. And I'm going to flutter from that asteroid to a question block that's in the middle of where the airships normally would be. This flutter can be really easy to overshoot or undershoot. So I have a little bit of a setup there. That makes it pretty consistent to get the lineup. Alright, now this is the really tough flutter. This is the scary one. Alright. That was a little bit scarier than I would have liked, but it worked. You need a very specific... You need one of like a couple different angles in order to get that... In order to be able to both get through the comet metal and get underneath that structure. And you also have to be good at managing your height so you don't die. But yeah, that saves a good amount of time over the other strat. Now we have to fight Mega Hammer, which is another pointer-based boss. So I'm going to get on Yoshi here, and I'm going to back up a little bit so I can get a bit of an early hit with these first 2 hits. Like that. I actually don't want to do that here because I want to try canceling one of Mega Hammer's attacks. So he was shaking his hammers there and he was going to get ready to smash them together. And right here I'm going to lure 3 bullet bills over here. And use 2 of them to take out this back weak spot, and then get the 3rd one in Yoshi's mouth. And now I'm going to hope that this one stores through the cutscene, which it's kind of random whether or not it works. And it did. So you're supposed to let Mega Hammer lower the cockpit so that you can attack him, but a side flip and a full flutter is enough to reach it. That was a really good Mega Hammer fight. But yeah, that was actually a really, really good Fearsome Fleet because I got the angle for question block flutter really quickly. You can lose up to like 10 seconds by not getting that angle right away. And that's it for World 3. So again, normally, because I got another star from another galaxy after completing Flip Swap 1 and getting its Comet Medal, Flip Swap's Comet technically spawns after this star, but because of this Grand Star cutscene, that cutscene will never play. So I saved like 5 seconds by doing that. I'm also going to be doing that for Worlds 2 and 3. So we're sort of halfway through the game, but not quite. World 4 is another world that really picks up in difficulty. There's a lot of really cool tricks in World 4, but most mistakes in World 4 are extremely costly. So let's just not make any mistakes, shall we? Alright, so at the start of World 4, the game wants you to go to Supermassive, but there's a convenient fork in the road that we're going to use instead. Because it goes to Sweet Mystery, which is just a better level anyways. And Supermassive has been routed out of any percent entirely, which is nice. So, Sweet Mystery, if you remember how the last level was just kind of a bunch of infinite fluttering, this level is more or less the same thing. Except it's not nearly as terrifying. If you want a really cool IL of this game to watch, you need to watch the IL for this level. Because it resets the 10-second limit on flutters like 3 different times by bouncing off of various objects, including bulb berries, which requires pressing B to stick Yoshi's tongue out right before bouncing on them so that Yoshi doesn't eat them. Yeah, this level, most of the infinite flutters are just to traverse distances faster than I otherwise would be able to. So they kind of speak for themselves. This first infinite flutter is a little bit tricky though, because I'm going to be doing it with a blind angle, and hopefully I'm not too far forward.
Yes.
I'm also going to be collecting some star bits here because I'm a little bit short. Alright. I'm actually going to be too far back, but that's okay. Alright. So if you do that properly, you can go all the way over to this Comet Medal platform, but I just decided to stop it a little bit early. So here you're supposed to hit some flip switch panels to make a launch star appear so you can go to the next section. And I didn't grab that checkpoint, so now I'm kind of scared. But you can just infinite flutter instead. And this flutter can be a little bit scary because if you somehow fall during this flutter, you actually land on an invisible floor instead of dying. And you have to spend like 20 seconds finding a ledge to fall off of, which is really costly. That was a little bit slow, but at least I didn't die.
Oh. Yeah.
Alright, and now I have enough star bits for the rest of the run, so I don't need to worry about getting them anywhere else. So we're going to be spending some time going back and forth between Sweet Mystery and Flipspell for the start of this world segment. Flipspell is a pretty fan-favorite level in speedruns. All 3 of these levels are really good in terms of the strats you get to do. This level in particular has a couple of really cool gravity exploits that allow me to skip pretty much the entire level. And there's just a ton of other cool tech you can do in this star that unfortunately you don't get to see. So, that jump cancel actually doesn't matter because I have to wait for this guy anyways. So here I'm going to jump on top of this wall so I can get over to the Comet Medal a little bit quicker. Hopefully. Okay. There we go. It's a little bit awkward moving like that. Now I can just long jump straight to the second planet from there. And that actually unloads a kill plane, which means I can get on top of this roof. And then backflip off this roof to get some backwards momentum. So I just gotta fall for long enough, and once I get close enough to the boss planet, I can spin to enter its gravity field, and just skip pretty much the entire level. So yeah, that's a pretty fun looking skip. You can also opt to go to that Starshroom if you want to play it a little bit safe. So now here is Glamdozer. This boss is pretty easy. The boss's chin is vulnerable, so I can just kind of camp out underneath it. And get it like that. Makes this fight go by super fast. Yeah, pretty easy boss. So something I haven't mentioned about comets yet is that I kind of alluded to this earlier, so not only do you need to get all the non-hidden stars from a galaxy, but then you also have to get at least one star from another galaxy before that comet can spawn, which is why I have to kind of go back and forth between Flipsville and Sweet Mystery here, because I need buffer stars. So I'm going to get Flipsville 2 now so I can meet the main star requirement for Flipsville's comet to spawn, and then get Sweet Mystery's comet as the buffer star. And this is one of 3 mail-toad letters I'll be receiving from Definitely Not Rosalina for the Luma that give me 50 star bits each, and this will account for 150 of the star bits I need. So Flipsville 2 is a pretty hilarious level, at least for the start of it, because you're meant to use the spin drill on both planets to do some digging, but Nintendo did not try at all to keep you from skipping it on these planets, and you're going to see what I mean here very shortly. So for example, on this planet, you can just kind of jump around the side, like so. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, saved it. And then here you can wall jump on the structure for no good reason. Alright, this first room is really, really tight, so hopefully I get this. Alright. No, I didn't get it. So I unfortunately missed a cycle there, which is going to cost like 8 seconds, I think. That first room is the hardest part of this entire section, so it's okay. So now it's just kind of a matter of just waiting here, and also, no, I'm not missing any cycles. It's kind of half auto-scroll, half cycle-based. So I waited a little bit there because I'm going to try to manipulate when the gravity switches after this cutscene ends. Right. So that when I drill here, I actually get an insta-star grab. As far as I know, that only works if the gravity switches sooner rather than later after the cutscene finishes. And that just saves a couple seconds. And that's actually something I found out in my practice run for this event. So now I'm going to go back to Sweet Mystery Comet. This star, I don't have to Infinite Flutter unless I somehow unless I somehow fall down and I need to save myself. But this star is still really, really tricky because Yoshi walks really, really fast. And so I want to stay on the ground as much as possible. But that also means that collecting the purple coins without stopping and without missing any is very, very tricky. So this is, I'm probably going to focus for a bit during this level. Also, every time I jump, I'm going to do double tap A to do a short flutter so that Yoshi doesn't stay in the air for as long. Alright, that might be bad, but I can probably still back this up. Alright, backed it up nicely. And yes, Yoshi can just kind of walk across those platforms, don't ask why. So, if I play really, really fast here, I can make it to this platform before it goes too far to the... Nice, I made that cycle. If you play really well there, you can make it to that box before it goes too far to the right, and then get that leftmost purple coin early so you don't have to wait for it to go back, which can save like 3 to 4 seconds. It's really, really tight, though. So that was a pretty solid Sweet Mystery Comet overall. Yeah, a 103 endgame time is very, very good for that level. But now we get to play a star that's even more finicky to do, i.e. Flipspell Combat. So this requires collecting 100 purple coins in that room with the silver stars, which obviously means it's going to be cycle-based, and the cycles here are very, very tight. In addition to that, I'm going to rely on the spin drill having a huge hitbox whenever you drill to collect giant hordes of purple coins a lot quicker than normal. This is a very tight level, so I'm going to need to, again, focus for the first half of it. And mistakes here can be very costly, especially if you make them snowball. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Alright, so far so good. So now I'm past all the hard parts, so the rest of this level is pretty smooth sailing from here, usually. If I can kill this fuzzy, that would be nice. Ah, alright. I'm gonna have to do a backup strat here. Got it. Getting that instant turnaround feels kind of random. I don't exactly know how you do it. But yeah, that was a pretty optimal Flipspell Comet. Made all the cycles. So shouts to How to Cantaloupe for finding that route. And now I'm completely done with both Sweet Mystery and Flipspell. So now we get to go back and forth between two other galaxies, because doesn't that just sound like fun? So we're going to start with Chompworks here, and Chompworks 1 is kinda got a lot of auto-scrollers to it, but at the same time, there's a lot that goes into making this level fast. And it is kind of lengthy for any % standards, but the other two stars in this level are fast enough. So you're not normally able to run up this little ramp here at the start because it's a slippery slope, but for some reason, if you just run on the edges of it, you're not affected by the slope's physics. So that's why I can do that. And I make it over here, and I should have enough time to get this Comet Medal. Now I'm going to make it back to that lowering platform. And if I long jump into this launch star, I can prevent a landing stun on the next planet. Like so. So yeah, a lot to take in on that first planet. So now on this planet, there's a pretty cool strat here where I can actually barely touch the left edge of the seesaw to make it lower just enough so that when this first chomp spawns, it can make it onto the seesaw without it breaking. Unfortunately, I cannot do the same for this upcoming planet because you just don't have enough time. Although, if you have a second player, they can take the form of an orange Luma that can stop enemies, amongst other things they can do. And so they could actually hold that chomp in place while you get over here, and then you can lower this platform and then let that chomp get on. But I don't have a second person, and I'm not good at holding two Wii remotes at once, so this entire run will be done 1P. It doesn't really have any other advantages aside from this one level. But yeah, this last planet's kind of just an auto-scroller. So there's nothing you can really do to speed it up. So I can go for some swag jumps on this button here. I can get a really cool one if I time this right. Oh, I was too late. Okay, so first we had auto-scrollers, and now we are going to be revisiting everybody's favorite power-up from Galaxy 1, which was the Spring Mushroom. The nice thing, though, about this level is that, thankfully, you don't really have to use the spring mushroom for the entire level, because, again, Nintendo is really good at making games, so you can kind of skip it on the first 2 planets. And it's really not that difficult. There is one important thing to note about this level, though. So there are elevators on the last planet that move on cycles, but the elevators are moving while you're on the first planet. And if you have good enough movement on the first planet, you can actually make you can barely make a fast cycle that saves like 5 to 6 seconds, but it's super, super tight. Alright, I didn't get the jump cancel, so now I have to have really good movement. Alright, that was really good, so I should have a chance at it. My movement on this planet doesn't matter, though. So on that planet, this is one of those planets where you actually can't normally go into first-person mode, so you can't normally do a camera cancel. However, you do have a 1-frame window to actually enter first-person mode when you're on one of these planets. Also, if you use the nunchuck to spin after a wall jump, you could spin earlier. Which is what I was using for those wall jumps there. Alright, so now let's hope I can make the fast cycle here. It's both hard to make this cycle and stay on it, so let's see what happens here. Alright, first part down. Alright, really nice. So that, again, saves a good amount of time. But it is, again, extremely tight. So, we're going to take a break from Chompworks for a couple minutes or so, and now we're going to go to Starshine Beach Galaxy, which is one of the only, like, open-world galaxies in this game, where everything just kind of takes place on one giant planet, and you can do stuff in whatever order you want, as opposed to more of a linear nature. And that's especially going to be fun for Starshine Beach 1, because this is a Silver Stars mission, and the Silver Stars are spread all about the frickin' place. And also we get Yoshi in this level, and he doesn't die from touching water in this game, unlike Mario Sunshine. So, you can do some pretty cool stuff with the routing in this level.
Yes!
So once I land here, I'm going to long jump on this crabber to stun it, and I'm going to get on Yoshi. And I'm going to eat this crabber. Hopefully. I'm going to infinite flutter up to this glass here, and then use this crabber to blank it to get the first silver star. Now I have to do this somewhat weird infinite flutter to the tower. The perspective is not the greatest for this infinite flutter, so you have to actually start further back than you would like, otherwise you'll be too far forward and you'll have to dismount off of Yoshi. But I did that perfectly. And now I can grab the dash pepper, which allows me to run on deep water. And so I can use this to speed up the collection of these last few silver stars. And a potentially cool strat incoming. Oh, I missed it. So what I was trying to do there was use the, what you saw in High TFLs 1, where you dismount off of a slope as Dash Yoshi, and you can just propel yourself into that last silver star, but I messed it up. So I have to do a bit of a slow backup. That also makes getting into this cave kind of awkward because you're turned around. This comet medal is one of the few comet medals that's kind of out of the way. You probably have to dedicate like 10 seconds to it, but it nets me one of the fastest comet stars in the run, so it's definitely worth getting. Alright. Not a great Starshine Beach 1 overall. I made a couple pretty big errors, but that's a really hard level to get everything down in, so it's understandable. So, now I'm going to do Starshine Beach 2, which is normally a very long and roundabout level that requires going all over the place just to get a cloud, just to be able to climb up the tower with some clouds. But there's a pretty simple way to just skip all of that, and that involves our good friends from Pianta 5, the Chucksters. So I'm going to use a Chuckster throw to get onto the highest cloud, and then use that tech you saw in Honey Bloom 1 where you can jump off of a cloud for a few frames if you don't have Cloud Mario. And that'll allow me to get on top of the tower, and it saves like over a minute if you get this first try. And it looks, and it is a little bit tricky to figure out, but once you have it down, it's just muscle memory. So here I just gotta long jump all the way over to that Chuckster. I'm also gonna turn the camera at a certain point just so I can get the clouds off camera for a little bit, so their cycles are a bit more favorable. And this should be lined up exactly right to where I can just long jump right into this Chuckster. And I want to spin as Mario starts falling so I can make it all the way over there. And we got the skip, nice. So that saves a very big chunk of time.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, so we got one more star before we're able to go to the boss level of World 4, and we'll have exactly enough stars, believe it or not. And it's going to be Chompworks Comet. So this star is another star that simple in design, but very, very annoying in execution. This is the last planet of Chompworks 1, but with Cosmic Clones, so it is still technically an auto-scroller. But you have to be really, really careful to dodge the Cosmic Clones, and if your Chomp breaks, then that's just really bad. Guys, you lose a lot. Not only do you lose a lot of time, but the Cosmic Clones make it really hard to backtrack.
Yes.
So the only real optimization you can do this level is by breaking that Chomp at roughly the same time the Cosmic Clone cutscene begins, which causes the next Chomp to spawn sooner. But now it's just a matter of waiting. This is actually a level you can get a frame-perfect IL time in, though. It's 51.20 seconds, but it's not exactly easy to get that in RTA. So I'm probably going to be, like, within a second of it. Alright, that's fine. Alright. Thankfully, nothing tragic happened during that level. And now the last star we are going to be getting in World 4 is the boss level, which is Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet. So Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet, wow, I got 1 star in that level. So that's the 1 second text boxes I'm trying to avoid throughout this run from collecting star bits. I didn't realize I had a star bit in my inventory. So Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet is an interesting level because there's actually 2 different ways you can skip a good chunk of this level. And you're going to be seeing me go for both of them in this run. So, for this first star, I'm going to be doing a strat where there's lava rendered behind this 2D castle here, and if you lava boost in a specific way, you can get pulled into the gravity zone of the last 2D section of the level. And this saves about like 25 to 30 seconds over doing the level normally. And I need to do this skip on this star instead of the other skip because I need the Comet Medal here. And the Comet Medal is right next to where you do the skip. Fittingly titled behind the castle. This skip is a lot more tricky than you might think. So I'm gonna go a little bit past here to get the Comet Medal and this checkpoint. And now, here we go. So getting on this pillar is hard because this spike is not sloped, but the rest of it is. Alright, got it. So you want to start lava boosting as close to the wall as possible, but then pull yourself a little bit away from it so that you're the proper distance away. Because if you're too close or too far away, you die. And that's really bad there. But from here on out, the rest of this level is pretty self-explanatory. A little fun fact, you can actually hit 2 of these locks at once if you're really precise, but there's pretty much no RTA viable setup, so I never bothered with it. I nearly missed that one, that would have been terrible. So now it's time for the second Bowser fight, so this is going to be mostly the same as the previous Bowser fight in terms of what's done, but there are a few minor differences. So first of all, Bowser will now have shockwaves coming off of both the meteors and his punches, which means you have a lot more dodge. Also, in this fight and this fight only, Bowser drops 2 meteors instead of 3. And since Bowser can punch out the meteors, it's actually possible for him to punch both of them out if you have really bad positioning, and that costs you a cycle, which is, again, 20 seconds. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah, the start of this fight is pretty hard, dodging these punches. So again, I'm going to try to manipulate Bowser to punch and spawn the meteors in proper locations, but for this first hit, I'm actually going to wait here for a little bit, because I want to wait for Bowser to start his punch attack, and then hit him with the meteor, because that'll make Bowser think he's already done the punch attack, so he skips it, and just summons the meteors right away, which nets a couple seconds of time save. And I don't have to do that for any other hits. So now the rest of this fight is going to play out similarly to Lava Lair. One thing to mention during this fight is that Bowser's shell can actually deflect the meteors. And we don't know this for certain, but it seems like the shell's hitbox grows with each fight. So, in Galaxy Generator, when I do that fight, it's very possible that a hit that would work on this fight will bounce off the shell on that fight. Okay, I do not like this positioning. Okay, that's really bad. So Bowser just punched out both those meteors, which is what I was talking about. So when he went to punch, there were no meteors for me to ground pound into him, so that cost the cycle. I tried to lure him away, but he punched right away. So that's an unfortunate time loss. That's okay, though. So I just gotta again sit through these cutscenes and dialogue and whatnot. So interestingly, I have 22 combat medals after this level, which means Bowser's Lava Layers combat is supposed to spawn, but once again, because it's overlapping with a Grand Star cutscene, I'm going to be able to skip that. Alright, that's it for World 4. So given that we just finished World 4, you'd think naturally the next world we'd go to is World 5, because that's how numbers work. But I actually need to make a quick little detour backtracking session before I can actually do stuff in World 5, because I want enough stars to actually get to the boss level. So I'm going to go back to Worlds 2 and 1 and clean up some stars that I either could have done before, but for routing convenience it's better to do them later, or stars that I couldn't have done before. So once we actually gain control of Starship Mario, then I'll be able to utilize the Grand World Map to go back. So again, I'm in World 5, and instead of having to go back through each world, I can just zoom out and go straight to World 2. So I'm going to start with Boulder Bowl 1. This star used to be the 15th star in the run, but by moving it to after we complete World 4, we can get an additional Male Toad Warp. And you'll see that after I do the star. In this star, there is a gravity exploit I can use to skip this planet here that requires killing a ton of really terrible enemies, and it's super slow. I'm going to try this once. I have never tried this in a run before. There is actually a new way to do this skip that involves doing a spin jump onto the ramp to cancel this ramp's effect, and then just jumping off the ramp to the left. I'm only going to try this once. But I literally learned this strat like today. So, hopefully this goes well. Alright, got it. That was actually really good. I'm actually surprised that that worked. Yeah, as you can see there, that was just a gravity exploit that I used to just skip that one planet. That probably saves like a minute. And that saves like 5 seconds over the other strat that I used to do. So this is Rolodillo, and this boss is terrible. This first hit isn't so bad, but the second, third, and fourth hits are all really, really finicky, because I'm going to be trying to avoid getting in Rolodillo's line of sight by rolling behind him like this, but I'm trying to chase him while he's trying to chase me, which is really awkward, and sometimes that happens. And I end up in his line of sight on the first hit, which is like the worst hit you can end up in his line of sight for. So yeah, I could have rolled the split, but I'm not going to now. I'm also doing these jump spins, or I'm trying to extend the length of my roll. So I can get him in one roll. And I completely failed all that, Jesus. Well, at least I got the new strat. That's really all that matters. I got to show that off. So coming up is the Male Toad Warp that I was alluding to earlier. So because I just collected Boulder Bowl 1, I'm not going to be taken down to the engine room to see Rock Mario appear. But because I've collected both this star and Chompworks 1, now I have a Male Toad letter that's going to spawn for Boulder Bowl's letter star. And that's going to warp me out of the engine room straight to the Male Toad again. So a quick shout out to JDA7 for coming up with most of the routing ideas for this route, because it's really good, and it has a lot of good synergy. And speaking of Boulder Bowl letter, that's actually the star I'm going to do next. So one thing I didn't mention about Boulder Bowl 1 skip is that you can actually do it both with and without Rock Mario. And without Rock Mario, it's a lot easier. I couldn't do it on Boulder Bowl 1, though, because I needed the Comet Medal, which requires Rock Mario. But here you're going to get to see just how much easier this actually is, now that I've said that I'm going to fail it. So this long jump across the bridge is a little bit awkward because of the camera. But once you're back here, it's super easy. You can just run up the ramp, long jump to the left, and spin. Pretty much no risk of dying. So now I have to lure this Goomba over to a Gearmo. You only get 2 of these Goombas, and if both of them die, then you have to restart the level. Which is fun. Unfortunately, there's a pretty easy setup to get this guy across that gap consistently. Also, the game can just randomly soft lock during this cutscene for no reason. Fortunately, though, this game autosaves, so if that were to have happened, I would have just had to reset and start the level over, instead of losing the entire run, like in Galaxy 1.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So up next on our agenda is Hightail Falls comment, which I'm going to use as a buffer star for Boulder Bowl's comment. It's also just better for routing convenience to do it here. This is essentially Hightail Falls 1, but on a timer. And unlike Sky Station comment, there's no clocks to collect, and Nintendo gives you way too much time to do this mission. So, really the only changes made to this level is that there are some holes in the ground and meteors falling, which for the most part aren't an issue. And the ending of this level is going to be slightly different because I don't need the Comet Medal since this is the Comet. So I'm going to be able to do a slightly faster approach to the ending. But for the most part, this is basically just going to be the same as Hightail Falls 1.
Yes. Woohoo! Whee! Whee! Woohoo! Woohoo!
So I want to avoid touching these Smeeches because they latch onto Yochi's tongue and prevent it from eating anything. So you have to shake them off, which can lose a few frames. So again, if you missed Hightail Falls 1, basically I'm trying to keep this Dash Pepper's effects for as long as possible. Which means I'm going up this left side. If you bonk on a wall head-on while traveling up a vertical slope like that, you fall all the way down and you lose a ton of time. So, instead of doing what I did in Hightail Falls 1, I'm actually going to be taking the launch star this time. And I'm going to be going for a pretty precise jump here to make it all the way up to the ending platform. Alright, first try. Nice. So there's a variable in the Galaxy games called tilt, where depending on how far Mario is leaning forwards or backwards on a planet due to its gravity, it will determine his jump height. So basically at the edge of that wall, you are leaning super far back so you can gain a ton of height with your jump. And that's how I make it all the way up there. And that is faster if you are not getting the comic medal. Oh boy! So, next we're going to do Boulder Bowl Comet, and this is probably the worst star in the run in terms of RNG. Because this star is basically, that's basically this entire level, is just play the game. So there's 30 crabbers on that planet where Rodilla was, and I have to collect, and I have to kill them all with Rock Mario, but within a minute. And, the crabbers just move around in completely random ways. So, it's essentially luck how fast I get through this level. Hopefully, I don't run out of time. Optimally, I have more than 20 seconds to spare. There's also another bit of tech that the game never tells you about that makes this level, like, a million times easier, where if you're rolling as Rock Mario, you can actually jump out of it early by just jumping and pressing Z. Alright, that was not a very good start. So what I'm kind of hoping happens is that they all group up until I reach like 24 or 25 of them, and then I can focus on the individual ones. And the blue crabbers are by far the worst because their movement is a lot more erratic. Alright, so I'm at that point where I can probably just start focusing on individual ones now. Alright, there's one here. There's one over there, and the one over there is right next to the star. That's really good. Alright, that actually was not too bad. Yeah, so I had like a little under 20 seconds to spare there, I think. I have had to finish that star with 1 second remaining on the timer. It is extremely stressful 2 hours into the run. And here's the second of the 3 50-star-bit mail-to letters. And one more star before we can move on to World 5. Now we get to visit our good friend Gobblegut again. So the Comet in Bowser Jr.'s Fiery Flotilla is just a Gobblegut fight with a 2-minute time limit, and I'm going to be going for the exact same strats I went for in Fiery Flotilla 1. So hopefully it just goes exactly like that. Basically, if you missed that first fight, basically I'm just trying to attack the bellyache bulges while Gobblegut's still in the air as opposed to while he's on the ground. And missing any hits is incredibly hard to back up. So hopefully I just get a 2 for 2 perfect Gobblegut. Alright, that was a weird first phase, but it still worked. The first phase is generally the easier of the two for me. The second phase is easier to screw up, in my opinion. Alright. 2 for 2 perfect Albagut. Again, that fight is way, way harder than I am making it look. It takes a lot of practice to get that fight down. But thankfully, I did it perfectly both times, so we're good. And I can finally move on to World 5. I'm done with this backtracking session.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going to be getting too many stars in World 5, but I'm going to be getting a handful of pretty technical stars and a lot of really interesting stars, so there's still quite a bit of stuff left to do in this game. So Space Storm 1, this is one of the few stars that I'm actually required to get. Because there's just no way to skip it in order to actually have access to the rest of World 5. Fortunately, it's a pretty fast level. So this cylinder planet, I want to have really good movement because all of these elevators are on cycles. There's one finicky long jump I'm going to go for here that can save me about 5 seconds in these platform cycles. Alright, got it. That single long jump took me an hour to get consistent at. Movement in this game is a lot... It looks simple to the casual viewer, but it is a lot more complicated than you might think to optimize. Alright, so instead of walking all the way around to the launch star, I'm just gonna long jump to it. Now I have a pole star section to finish off the level with. So with pole stars, you want to try to maintain your momentum from them as much as possible by letting go before you reach their center, but this can be really tricky to do. And there's also a lot of obstacles in the way here. That was really good. Fortunately, when you get shocked like that, you're suspended in midair for a little bit. So you're able to save yourself by just grabbing onto another pole star. And now that I've collected that one star, a whole bunch of World 5 is going to open up. But I am going to stay in a Space Storm for one more level. So Space Storm 2 pays homage to Buoy-based Galaxy from Galaxy 1 and even has the Buoy-based music. Unfortunately, if you are a fan of that music, you will not get to hear it for very long, because this is the second shortest level in the run when done optimally. And this level, as you notice, all the moving elements in this level are really fast. Those blue switches actually slow down time, but I'm going to try to make it through the star without hitting any of them, because that's wastes time to go out of your way to do. So I'm going to skip this entire first section of the level by just jumping onto this wall and just long jumping up here. And I can jump onto the swamp, use some upwards momentum from it to get up here. And make it up here and use a triple jump to skip a Topman fight. Alright, perfect Space Storm 2. Like I said, you're not going to get to hear much of that song. Sadly, because it's a really good track. So now I'm going to move into the bulk of World 5 and get the remaining stars I need. I need 55 in order to get to Bowser Jr.'s Boom Bunker, so I need 7 more, I believe. We're going to start with doing SuperViperT Secret. So if you missed your opportunity to guess what score I was going to get for the Freezy Flake minigame, this is your opportunity to redeem yourself. Except this time, now the chimp wants 100 more points, so yeah, definitely a lot harder. So guess anywhere between 600 and 900 and only guess multiples of 10. So we're going to grab Cloud Mario here and we're going to do a little bit of some cloud boosting action to skip this little C here. And the patterns you can get here are the exact same as in Freezy Flake, and they can be rotated in the same way. So literally the only difference in this minigame is that you need to get 100 more points. And once again, I'm going to skate backwards. Oh, I got downright RNG this time, nice. Alright, we made the high score. Alright, 100 less points than last time, I think, but 860 is still pretty good. So again, whoever was closest would have won. So now I'm going to do Shiver Burn 1, which is a pretty, somewhat long level for this game's standards, but it's got a lot of really cool tricks and strats to it. For example, at the start here, I'm going to do another gravity exploit with Cloud Mario, where I'm going to skip from the start of the first planet to the end of the second. And this is a somewhat finicky setup I'm going to use for it. I have to have pretty precise timing with my cloud making and long jumps. Use this elevator as sort of a launch pad. Alright, this should be good. Alright. So, I actually would have taken damage later in this section anyways. Just to get rid of Cloud Mario, so the fact that I hit that lava there is fine. Because I don't want to have the floaty effect for this section. So here I'm turning the camera to manipulate the timings of the icicles falling in this section, and I'm going to skip past them. I'm going to skip past these dudes by just lava boosting to here. You're supposed to fire coconuts back at those octopus guys to make a bridge fall, but that's easier to do and way faster. So here's Prince Bacante, who I would assume is the descendant of King Caliente from Galaxy 1. So I'm going to intentionally miss this first coconut, and then hit the second one back to him really, really late. Because what I'm trying to do is manipulate him so that he's never on that side of the battlefield during the second or third hits. Because otherwise he does this upwards firing attack that you can use for a faster strat, but it makes the fight a lot more random. And this strat is seconds slower and very, very consistent. So yeah, again, really, really cool level. Or should I say really hot level, because it's actually both, because, you know, shiver, burn, haha, I'm funny. Again, a lot to that level. It's a really fun and satisfying level to play. And this will be the last of the Starbit Mailtail letters in the run. So now I have 1800 Starbits, which is enough for Flash Black Galaxy, which is the only other Hungry Luma Galaxy I'm going to get. So So now I'm going to go to Upside Dizzy, which is sort of the sequel level to Right Side Down, in that it really plays with the idea of transitioning gravity fields, except you have even less control over when you switch gravity fields in this level. Also, Upside Dizzy 1, which I'm going to do first, is very, very, very cycle-based. And there's a lot of really finicky movement you have to do here, and mistakes here can easily just snowball and cost you so much time. This is a really finicky level. Right, so far so good. I'm gonna long jump into this red gravity zone so I go super high up once I exit it, which makes getting here a little bit faster. I'm gonna go for a little Goomba bounce into the pipe here. Skip having to hit a button. Alright, got it. And now here, the gravity transitions on a cycle. And if you do not have a consistent route for getting through here, you are just going to stumble through here like there is no tomorrow. Fortunately, I have a pretty decent route for getting through here. Alright, that was really good. If you screw up even the tiniest bit in that last room, you just lose like 10 seconds plus easily. Just because you kind of have to improvise and it's impossible. But fortunately, it went well. And now we're going to do Upside Dizzy Secret Star, which is going to be another box-burning minigame. Similar to Right Side Down. At the start of this star, I want to go for a pretty finicky Goomba bounce to get into this pipe here. Hopefully Mario doesn't switch directions without warning. Nice, he didn't. Oh, okay, I actually got the Goomba bounce and then missed the pipe. I don't think I have ever done that before. Fortunately, there's a pretty easy backup. So this box minigame is slightly easier to do optimally than the one in Right Side Down, but the time limit is a lot tighter. Which makes this an even harder start for casual players. But fortunately, the boxes are all tightly packed together and you don't need to have thrown them at many awkward angles. This is kind of slow so far. One thing to point out is that the fireballs do not actually come out of Mario's center, they come out of his right hand. So you actually want to aim just to the left of where you want the fireball to go. Otherwise, you're going to miss. Alright, so that wasn't a great level, but again, Upside Dizzy is a really, really fickle level in general. So one of the stars, it's kind of a given that you'll probably lose some time. And this will be the last time the Purple Idiot brings us down to the engine room. So, sayonara. And now I get to go to a spoopy level. So now we're gonna go to Blue Moon Galaxy. There is not a whole lot to Blue Moon in general. There's a couple of things I'll point out as we get to them. But for the most part, this level is just snake block auto-scrollers. So this is a lot more of a chill level than most. But there's still some pretty cool tricks. On this starting planet, it's only optimal to do long jumps at the start and end of it. Due to the way it's curved, everywhere else you do a long jump, you're losing time. Nice. Alright, so this plane that I can get a frame-perfect camera cancel on if I time this right. Literally free. Again, you can't normally go into first-person mode there to do a camera cancel, but you can if you do it on the first frame you land. So you can skip some of these snake blocks, but not too much of them. I just kind of have to wait on this one. Keep in mind that how this wall rises up, it sort of causes a new gravity zone to form over here. That's going to be important for later. Common metal on the way, we might as well grab it. So I'm actually going to get the secret star first, so I'm going to long jump past this launch star. And do this. Nice. So that snake block is extremely fast, and the octobus are extremely annoying to deal with, but thankfully you can skip it by just long jumping straight to the star. I'd actually recommend doing that strat when playing this game casually, because it's so much easier. Alright, and now I'm going to do Boom Moon 1. This is another star that wasn't originally in the 80% route, but it actually was put into the route after a skip was found by the current world record holder, Nemi. That makes this star faster than the other star in Supermassive. And you'll get to see that in effect here. It's a really cool looking skip, if not a little bit finicky. Not 2 for 2. So I tried the frame perfect camera cancel there, but I was just a little too early. Alright. That long jump is a lot scarier than it needs to be every single time, I swear. So what I'm going to do here is after I long jump off this snake block, I'm going to activate this wall so that it comes up. I'm going to make my way back here, wait for the gravity to switch, and then wall jump back onto this side of the snake block. And then long jump off, spin. Okay, that was a little close, but I still made it. And that just skips the second part of that snake block ride. That skip's a little hard to figure out because the controls on there are the inverted because of the changing gravity zone. I couldn't do that on Boom Moon Secret, by the way, because I needed to ride the snake block to get the common medal. And these last 2 seconds are just collecting some star chips and then collecting some silver stars. Here I'm going to try to collect all the silver stars in one cycle. It's not terribly tight if you have good movement. And there's just one more star before we can round out World 5. But first we have a male toad letter that comes from getting Boom Moon 1 for a star that we're thankfully not going to get because it is terrible. So the last star I'm going to get before I move on to Boom Bunker is going to be SuperViperT Comet, which is actually pretty easy. So, SuperViperT Comet is killing 30 of the Octumba enemies on the planet where Prince Vicante was, and I'm going to use Rainbow Mario to do it. The game intends for you, I'm pretty sure, to just skate the entire way through, but it's actually better to run, because not only do I think you move slightly faster, it's also just easier to turn. And that's going to be really important for this star. So what I'm going to do at the start here is I'm just going to skate into the Rainbow Star, develop the momentum, but then I'm going to jump out of it, and I'm just going to run for the rest of the level. And if I play my cards right, I should be able to get all 30 of these guys without having to get another Rainbow Star. Alright, perfect. Okay, now it's time for the boss level of World 5, which is going to be Bowser Jr.'s Boom Bunker. And I do not like this level very much, because there aren't any motion control based levels in the any percent route, but this level has cannon shots, which is pointer based. And that wouldn't be so bad if the 2 cannon shots you have to make in this level weren't terribly precise. And missing either of them pretty much equals death. And it's not a small death. The worst part is when you try to aim the cannon and then you go to press A and your hand twitches slightly so you move. And that's going to be especially relevant. Oh, don't know why they disconnected there. That's going to be especially relevant for this first cannon shot, where if you die to it, you lose like 35 seconds. So first I gotta lure a Bullville over here to break some glass. And I'm gonna aim this cannon shot right at this Boomerang Bro's face, and it's really tiny target to aim at. That should be fine. Oh no, that was too high. That actually looked fine to me, so I'm actually kind of surprised that that failed, but whatever. So yeah, that's kind of the risk. My hands were a little bit shaky there, and I didn't have as steady of an aim as I would have liked. So that's a pretty big time loss. That should be better. Alright, there we go. And then as you can see there, I just have a fast setup to kill the other Boomerang Bro. Thankfully, this second cannon shot isn't nearly as precise. You have a bit more leeway with it, but then after that is a really dumb strat. So you're supposed to use clouds to get to the end of this section, but that's kind of overrated, so I'm just going to do this instead. That saves like maybe 1 to 2 seconds at best, but it's not that hard of a jump once you figure it out. And now we get to fight Boomsday. This is where the game will either make you or Bowser Jr. look like a complete joke. There's really no in-between. Fortunately, though, these first 2 hits are not very difficult. You just gotta get to the top of Bowser Jr. On this second hit, I am going to have to wait a little bit before I can make the ground pound because I need for him to become vulnerable, otherwise he'll just do damage to me. So that's roughly the earliest you can get that second hit. But now for this third hit, I need to move very, very quickly so that I can get on top of him in time. Almost choked it, but saved it just in time. That was really a good Boomsday fight. And that's where Bowser Jr. canonically dies. If you're ever wondering why he's not in 3D World or Odyssey, that is why. Alright, a bit of an unfortunate mistake there, but we'll get past it. And now we're done with 5 out of 6 worlds. So there's about 40 minutes left in this run, give or take. But World 6 is where runs in this category basically go to die. Because there's a lot of really difficult strats in World 6. And a lot of really easy ways you can just lose 30 plus seconds. Especially when you're at the end of the run and you're super nervous. Right. So we're approaching sort of the end game here, but not quite because there's still a decent amount of time to go. So the first galaxy I'm going to go to is Melty Monster Galaxy. I'm actually going to be able to clear out all 3 stars here in one go. So we're going to be here for a little while. So first off is Melty Monster 1, which is a pretty lengthy level, somewhat, and has a lot to it as well. So the big thing about this level is that on the second planet, there are tornadoes, which you can see on screen right now, and they are on global cycles from the moment you enter the level. So I have to have some pretty good movement in this pole star section. Alright, that was really good. And in this next section, I'm just going to be doing a bunch of mini platforming skips using lava boosts and whatnot. Okay, I almost hit the lava wall there. I'll explain why that would have been bad later. Alright. The angle for that long jump is really precise. So yeah, by making that tornado cycle, I'm able to actually skip 2 of the... what the? I have never seen that before. Okay, I'm actually gonna take this tornado, because I don't know what just happened there. Okay. I am going into the section with 1 HP, and I didn't grab that checkpoint, so this is gonna be really scary. So every single planet here has its own gravity field. Alright, I'm at full health now, so we're good. And for some reason, breaking this crystal on the left is easier than breaking it on the right, I say as I fail to break it. Okay. Scuff level, but we'll take it. And now what's funny is that the other 2 stars in Melty Monster don't even have lava in them. They're all about Rock Mario. Even though it's called Melty Molten Galaxy. Melty Monster Galaxy. Melty Molten is in Galaxy 1, I don't know what I was thinking. Silly me. Anyways. Forgot I said anything. So first I'm going to do Melty Monster 2. It would be, you could auto-select more times by doing the secret star first, but by doing Melty Monster 2, now 2 stars will show up on the star select menu the 3rd time I enter this galaxy, which saves just a tiny bit of time. And this level is basically all about using Rock Mario. It's also a great level to go for farming star bits if you need to. By the way, in case you're wondering how I refresh my Big Toad between everyone, I just use an SD card. Alright, so for the most part, this level doesn't have much to say about it until the very end, where I'm going to be going for a strat known as Zigzag Skip, where I'm going to be... There's this section that's sort of in a Z-like shape, where there's fences that you normally have to bounce along, but you can actually roll across the tiny gaps in the middle with precise enough positioning and angling, and it saves like 3 seconds, but it loses about 45 to 50 if you fail it and die. I'm gonna try it once, just for the sake of the showcase, but hopefully I get this. Alright. Almost rolled off the right side on the end there, but we still made it. You have to make sure you turn around just in time so that you can roll onto that platform, or else you roll off the right side and die. Also, sometimes if you take the fences like you're intended to, they just knock you to the side. So it's kind of a darned if you do, darned if you don't sort of thing. Right. Now I'm going to do Melty Monster Secret, and I'm going to select Melty Monster 2 because you start closer to the pipe in this star. So this is another level where I'm going to attempt a strat only once. So in Boulder Bowl 1, when I did that skip earlier, I used a technique where I spin jump onto a ramp to prevent the ramp from activating. I'm going to use that similar technique here, but to a different effect, to where I can jump off the edge of the ramp and then make it onto the next platform, and the game won't stop me like it normally would. So pay attention to how I stop after taking these first 2 ramps. But then for the 3rd ramp, I'm going to try to jump at the very edge of the ramp instead of actually taking the ramp. Like that. I'm going to try to do that a couple more times. Alright. By the way, I need to hit at least 50 of these pins, and there are 56 of them. Alright, I got it all 3 times, that's really nice. You can do it on more ramps than that, but those are the 3 I choose to do it on. That was basically perfect. I'm actually kind of happy that went well, because I did not have good luck with that in practice. But yeah, those strats, that's way, way harder than it looks, because you're essentially just doing the jumps blind, and they only save like 1.5 seconds each, and if you fail them, you miss the platform and die. But we're past that, and so that's good. Now I can finally move on in World 6. So now I'm going to do Clockwork Ruins Galaxy. I want to get a star from here so that I have access to Throwback Galaxy, but Clockwork Ruins 1 is like almost 2.5 minutes long, so no. And the only other option is the Secret Star, which requires collecting 30 coins in this first section. But then after that, the star is basically done. This star, however, is really, really tedious. Because all of these gears are cycle-based, and if you die at any point... Okay, I just missed a coin there. If you die at any point in this level, then the cycles are bad. And that's not good. Uh-oh. Okay. Kind of fell behind there, but I saved it. What in the world is this gameplay? Okay, I'm gonna look in first-person mode here for a little bit to advance the cycles of the platform after this one. Alright, there's a really finicky triple jump coming up here. Alright. And I can get 10 of the coins here from this item box, which makes the routing in this level a lot easier. Normally I would have 1 spare coin I need to get from these, but I have to get 2. Not a huge deal unless I miss one. Alright, we're good. So now the star is basically done, because on this next planet you're supposed to go around and again hit a bunch of switches to slow down time, but you can just do a really easy triple jump wall kick and skip all of it. This is another strat I think casual should do, because why would you want to play through this planet when it's super easy to skip all of it? It's even easier if you actually set it up, which I'm not going to do, because fast. Okay, I really messed up my angle there, so we're just gonna back that up. Okay. Kinda scary. I have died to that in runs before. I'm not scared to admit that. So now we're going to get to go to a galaxy that I'm sure a lot of you will probably recognize. So this is Throwback Galaxy, which is a homage to Whomp's Fortress from Super Mario 64. And this first star is essentially a recreation of Chip Off Whomp's Block, the first star of Whomp's Fortress. And the common medal is actually where the shoot into the Wild Blue star was, which is also a nice little reference. Unfortunately, the movement in this level is not nearly as flashy as it is in SM64, but you'll still get to see a couple really cool tricks. So here I'm going to do a little bit of a triple jump spin and try to get a weird ledge hop like that to make it up to this common medal a bit quicker, and I can just make my way up here using some clever schmoving. Okay, so you can actually skip killing this Whomp, but it's incredibly stupid, and hardly anybody does it. So you can have that Whomp clip you through the floor in a really precise way, and then make it to this bottom half of the planet, but it's dumb, and it only saves like a couple seconds, and it's a fail it, you die sort of thing. So I just don't do it. And now we get to fight the Whomp King, who's a lot bigger this time, and you also can't glitch through him in this game, so kind of have to fight this guy more or less as intended. So you gotta watch out for these little wimp guys. One cool thing is that Whomp King actually has the same dialogue in this game that he does in SM64. And if you die in this fight and then come back, He actually says something like, he actually like starts to say the text, and then he's just like, wait a minute, I've already said this, and then we just start fighting again. It's kind of hilarious. So yeah, pretty cool level to show off, but also throwbacks just fast enough to make it into the route. I just golded that split, by the way. That's my first gold split this entire run. And this is going to be the last time that Purple Idiot's going to bother us for this entire run. He's going to want to bother us one more time, but that's not going to happen. And just like every other time, we're just going to go back to the button, because that's faster. So now I'm going to do Throwback 2, which is sort of a reference to SM64DS, for those who care to remember that game. I'm going to be collecting 5 silver stars around Womp's Fortress. They're kind of placed in random positions and not like red coin positions like I would have liked. But you do get Cloud Mario, and this is an open world level, so you get to kind of do some pretty fun movement. So for this second silver star here, I want to be careful so that I don't make a cloud here too early. Otherwise, I won't grab the silver star, and I have to wait for the cloud to expire before I can make another one and try again. And right here, I'm going to kind of go off to the right after making this cloud so that I can spend more time above the abyss as Cloud Mario in a long jump state, which allows me to get more horizontal momentum. Yeah, that's a mouthful, I know. And we're going to do some more cloud boosted long jumps here. Get up here. Oh, I can save this. Okay. Good save. And one final set of jumps. That should be high enough. Alright. Bit sketchy, but no major mistakes. I'll take it. And I can just ground pound into the star. Really fun level to watch. Alright, so we could continue on the top path here, but actually we can't because I don't have enough stars. But Battle Bell is a terrible galaxy, and no one wants to do it any percent. So we're going to take the bottom path instead, because Flash Black is just better. So this is the last Hungry Limb I'm going to feed in this run. So Flash Black's gimmick is that in a cycle-based faction, you only get a brief glimpse of what the level actually looks like every few seconds, but obviously I'm a speedrunner. I played this level like hundreds of times, so I have the entire layout basically memorized. And this is a pretty simplistic level in terms of strats you do. There's one kind of cool strat midway through. Other than that, though, there's not too much. So once again, I'm going to be using Yoshi and the Blimper here to just sort of climb up this mansion thing. Again, using the Blimford is slightly faster than actually infinite fluttering upwards. And I just gotta be mindful of these enemy cycles here. Like this pair of Goomba and these Jacko Goombas. And now we got a Common Metal Strat coming up here. Hopefully I nail this. This looks really cool. Where you bounce off the Jacko Goomba, dismount into the Common Metal, get back on Yoshi, bounce off the Jacko Goomba again, and then dismount into the Launch Star. Really, really cool strat. And now here I just gotta collect 5 silver stars. Nothing too much going on here. This yellow platform is on a different cycle every single time I get here, I swear. Fortunately, it's on a good cycle this time. Nice timing. And now I get to do a literally blind jump to the star. Which isn't nearly as scary as I made it out to be. Alright, so the one downside to taking the bottom path is that we have to play this galaxy, which is Slimy Spring, in order to actually get to Galaxy Generator. Slimy Spring is somewhat of a resident sleeper level, because it's basically just 2 minutes of being underwater with the shell. It's a nice breather, though, before the end of the run, where you have a lot of late-game run enders. This will also be where I get the last Kama medal in the run, and I am good on Kama medals because I have 31 after Flash Black. I need 32 Kama medals for Bowser's Gravity Gauntlet's Comet, which is coming up in a few stars from now. So at the start here, there's another slope boost I'm going to try to get, but then after that, the level really isn't anything interesting. So if Chad has any questions, I know I haven't really been responding to chat much, now would probably be a good time to ask, because I'm going to have literally nothing to say about this level. If I didn't grab that coin, I would have been able to try doing this next section coinless, which is kind of precise, but now it's not going to matter. I'll still try it anyways, just to show it off. Yeah, you can there's 2 of these coin rings here, you can just barely make it past the coins, and still take the speed boosts. It's kind of risky though, because it's kind of hard to control the shell at this high of a speed, and if you walk on these walls head on, you lose the shell. Which I have had happen in runs before. But yeah, as you can see, I have 1 coin, so I'm going to get the text box after this level. And you can wake up now, because there's a cool strat coming up. Hopefully I nailed this. If you miss that, there's a backup shell, like, a few feet away from you, so it's not like that's a huge deal, but it looks really cool. And this will be the last normal star I collect in the run before Galaxy Generator. So from here on out, the remaining 6 stars I'm going to be getting to round out the 70 stars I need are going to all be comets. So I'm going to get 2 from World 3, 2 from World 4, and 2 from World 6. And that'll round out 70 stars, and then I'll get me to Galaxy Generator. So we're coming up on the end here, almost. On the home stretch, almost. So we're gonna, once again, use the Grand World Map to go back to World 3. And the first comet I'm gonna do is Honeyhall's Comet. I could have done this star way earlier, but due to the way spawning comets works, and due to the way this route works out, I need this to be a buffer star for B-Block Comet. And then B-Block Comet is going to be a buffer star for Gravity Gauntlet Comet. And this is basically the last part of Honeyhall's 2, but with Cosmic Clones. It's still just a bunch of long jumps. Nothing too much to say about it. The rhythm I have to use here is slightly different than the one in Honeyhall's 2, though, because of differing cycles. I have actually lost PB pace runs to this star before. And now we're getting to the fun part of the run, and I put fun in air quotes. So next up is Beat Block Comet, and this star outright lies to you. But, so in Beat Block 1, you probably remember me saying that the blocks switched every 8 beats of the song. Now they're going to switch every other beat, which is actually 4 times as fast, but the star says it's in double time. So, good job at math, Nintendo. Fortunately, this means cycles don't matter nearly as much. Obviously, though, you still want to go fast. I also want to shout out this star to being the only place in the run where I died in my PB. So you kind of have to be a bit more quick on your toes for this level because of the rapidly changing platforms. Although for some reason you get Yoshi midway through this level, which is fine. We're just going to use an infinite butter and skip like half this level, and then dump him in a pit, like we always do. Okay. And now here is where you have to be really careful. You need to have a good rhythm here. Okay. If you time it right, you can sometimes enter a scenario where these blocks switch on, like, at the last second right as the cutscene ends. But that requires very specific timing, but it is really scary if it does happen. Alright. So I just saved like 9 seconds over my PB. Yeah, 8.34 seconds. Still a minute behind though. But alright. But now we're getting up on what used to be the worst star in the run and might still be. But this is actually a strat that has also never been shown in a marathon before and that I started practicing last night. So this is a Bowser's Grabbing Gauntlet has an additional skip that's not behind the castle, that's a lot faster than behind the castle. And there's actually a couple different ways you can do it, and I'm going to go for this method, which was found by, again, Nemi. Basically, if you hit a lava wall and then hit the lava again, you get boosted horizontally instead of vertically. And I'm going to be going for a skip that's... I'm going to be using this to do a skip that's slightly faster. This is pretty finicky, but the setup, and this setup I'm doing I have never done in a run before. So we're going to see how this goes. But it can save me like 5 seconds over my gold if I get this. Dying to this skip loses a decent amount of time, by the way. Okay. So what happened there is I spent too long in the air. So even if I was above the platform when I landed, I would have just fallen through, because that's how lava boosting physics work. I'll try it again, though. I switched from right to left a little bit too early there. That's better. Okay, there we go. Second try. Still good. Yeah, that's actually the first time I have ever done that skip in a run, so... Still got a lot of work to do on it, consistency-wise, but... I'll take that for a marathon. The older method of doing that skip is a lot more finicky than that, in my opinion. But now I got a couple of breather stars, which is kind of nice. So first we're going to do Starshine Beach Comet, which is this is the comet medal I went like 10 seconds out of my way to get, and you're going to get to see why this star is worth it. Because there are way more than 100 purple coins here, and you're basically on Dash Yoshi for the entire star. In other words, this star is... It's pretty much impossible to fail this level unless you're just really bad at the game, which I get, some people are. The only minor difficult thing about this star is that if you don't want to miss purple coins, you have to make very tiny adjustments on the control stick. And I actually kind of want that to be the case, because the fewer purple coins I miss, the better, for reasons that are coming up here shortly. Alright, so I have 88, which is enough for me to cut around the right side of this tower instead of going around the left like normal. And that just saves a few extra seconds if you happen to have enough purple coins. That's that level done. And now all I have left is 2 comets in World 6, and that'll round out 70 stars. So we're completely done with Worlds 1 through 5 now. So the first World 6 comet I'm going to get is Throwback's Comet. And I'm just going to say this, if you liked Throwback 2, you are going to absolutely love this star because it is basically the exact same thing. The only difference is that there is a timer on the bottom of the screen. Also, some cycles near the beginning of the level are slightly different due to the level intro cutscenes showing different parts of the level, but that's only going to affect the very beginning of the level, and then after that it's the same. So this first cycle with this Womp is a little bit tired to make. But now, from here on out, it's basically the same. So that went a little bit better than Throwback 2. Nice. And our last star is going to be Flash Black's Comet, which is sort of an anticlimactic 70th star. Also, funny number coming up. Haha, laugh at it all you want. So, Flash Black Comet is yet another Romp Comet, but there's not too much of a gimmick here for killing these Octoombas. There are 3 ways you can kill them in this star. You can either jump on them, spin attack them, or shoot them with the star bit and then run into them. And for the most part, I'll be shooting them with star bits and running into them. And what makes this star so fun is how much you have to multitask, because you have to be keeping track of a lot of things at once while also controlling Mario. This is a really satisfying star when it goes well. Already off to a bit of a slow start. You have to be really mindful whenever you shoot, whenever you miss a star bit shot, because if you just run into the Octoomba, then you're gonna get hurt, and that's slow. It's also easy to get knocked off the stage if you get hasty. And here we get Yoshi at the end, and Yoshi can actually eat up multiple Octoombas at a time, which makes the end of this level pretty fast. Alright, now that's 70 stars, which means Bowser's Galaxy Generator is now open. But before we can do that, It is time for the one and only Purple Idiot skip. The hardest skip in all of Super Mario Galaxy 2. So, there's a space right before the Galaxy Generator space where there's normally a cutscene supposed to play, where the Purple Idiot talks to you and tells you it's like the final battle and all that. But you can save 35 seconds by just doing this. And that's Purple Idiot skip. Yeah, basically I just click on the Galaxy Generator space with the Wii Remote instead of moving there with the nunchuck, and you just skip over the cutscene. I was obviously memeing when I said it was the hardest skip in the game. And now it's time for Bowser's Galaxy Generator, the final level. This is a really, really great final level. It's got really good music, a lot of really cool tricks, a lot of really flashy movement, and a pretty scary final boss fight. This is a really great level to round out the end of this run. So to start here, we got another lava wall boost. This is a lot easier than the ones in Gravity Gauntlet Comet. I'm probably going to fail it now that I've said that. Yeah, you just skip riding a fluff all the way down here by just doing that. And here I'm going to take damage intentionally from the lava to lose the spin drill so that I can long jump, which will allow me to skip through this section. And this cylinder planet can look pretty flashy if I get the movement here properly. So let's see how this goes. Alright, not a great start, but we can work with it. This coming up section is probably the hardest part. I messed up, but I backed it up really well. And this is probably my favorite infinite flutter in the game because it looks so cool, and it saves a good amount of time, but it's pretty difficult to get down. So once I get on Yoshi, I'm actually going to do 2 different flutters because of the 10-second cooldown. That's going to allow me to basically skip the entire rest of this level. Oh, please. So this first infinite flutter is going to be to the top of this castle, and then I'm going to infinite flutter and dismount to get all the way to the end of the level. And I have to be careful with my height here so I don't enter the gravity field inadvertently. Right, that should be good. So I'm going to land on this top platform here. You can opt to land on the bottom platform, but the top shelf is a few seconds faster. And yeah, rip Yoshi. Don't worry, like I said, he is immortal and he will live forever. So here's the fun part about this game. So you've played through 70 stars, you played through almost 6 worlds of gameplay, you are 3 hours into the run, and now it's time for the final Bowser fight. So, why am I dramatizing this? So, the final Bowser fight is the last major run ender here. So, Bowser pulls out his punches a lot quicker in this fight than before, meaning you have to be a lot quicker to react. And, again, missed hits are about 20 seconds, so you could be 3 hours into this run on really good pace, and then miss a hit, and your run dies. This is an incredibly stressful fight. Thankfully, though, Bowser goes back to dropping 3 meteors in this fight, which means you have a little bit more room for error. And once again, I'm going to go for a punch cancel here by just waiting on this first hit. Like that. And again, I have to be careful to not hit Bowser's shell, because it can reflect off of the it can reflect the meteors. Alright. Okay, so for this third hit, I can potentially accidentally get a situation where I cancel Bowser's animation for summoning in the meteors, and then he doesn't spawn the meteors. So when he goes to punch, there's no meteors. So I have to get this third hit quickly enough for that to not happen and not lose 20 seconds. Right. But this is a really good position, so I should be fine. Yeah. Alright, that was really good. I don't have to worry about that for this 4th hit, because it just takes me right into a cutscene. Alright, I have no idea which meteor is going to be best. Wait. Alright. Alright. So that's it. Bowser's dead. That's the end of the game, so to speak. Last thing that's left to do is just come up and collect that star, right? Right? So why don't we get ready on time, if you know what I mean. Debated. Yeah, you can't actually skip this final fight. That star does not actually have a hitbox, which kind of sucks because this fight is pretty lame. This is like one of the most epic songs in the game, and you only get to hear it for like 20 seconds. You basically just press A and Z 4 times and you win. Bowser's one attack in this fight drops a coin, so it's basically impossible to die. And there we go. So now time is actually coming up. I'm not memeing this time. It'll be when I touch the final Grand Star. All in all, not too bad of a run. I will definitely accept a 302 and a no reset. My PB is a 30058, and the world record is a 258.39 by Nemi, who is just an absolute god at this game. And I'm currently 2nd place, but I'm about to get bopped by a quick little plug here. Hardcore Gaming is on quest to get sub 3/world record himself, so go check him out. I'm also on push for sub 3. So, yeah. Overall, pretty solid run. I'll definitely accept that for a no reset. 2 deaths. Alright, get ready on time. And time. So my timer says 302:40. I don't know what the stream timer is gonna say.
I think I actually paused it a couple of times because.
Okay, well the official time of this run is a 302:40. So
hey,
plus 140.
23. So.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. You did a great job.
Yeah.
Good work, dude.
So, yeah, pretty decent run overall. If you want to learn this game, definitely join the Super Mario Galaxy Discord. We have a lot of helpful people in there. I also have a playlist of tutorials for various tricks and whatnot in this game. Now, I know we were very ahead of estimate going into this run, and I just finished 12 minutes ahead of mine. So, is it okay if we go to the end of the credits, which is like 6 minutes?
Sure, if you like.
Okay, because there's something really funny I could show off. Actually, there's 2 funny things I can try and show off.
Okay.
So if you want to like plug some things real quick now, would probably be a good time.
Okay. CJ, do we have anything to plug?
Yeah. So the store link in the panels is now fixed.
Yay!
Because I forgot my HTTP protocol, so it was just linking back to the Twitch channel. Our new podcast is coming out not this Friday, but next Friday. The first episode will be coming out wherever you find your local podcasts next Friday. It is called Speedrun Insider. Speed Doxathon is how many days away? Some unmeasurable number of days away.
No one.
It's on September. No one can do the math in their head, but it starts on September 4th. It goes until September 7th. Next week we're doing another Road to SDAT stream. It'll be the 3rd week of Road to SDAT, and I believe we have the 2 runners that are going to be doing that already marked down. Next week you can join and watch. Yeah, it would help if I remembered their names. Sable Dragon Rook playing The Last Guardian, which is a really cool boss rush sort of game. And then after that, it'll be Roy Zoga playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. So, 2 really great runs. Awesome. It'll be a nice 9-hour stream with 2 runs. So, CC.
That sounds epic.
It'll be an epic time for sure.
This game's 100% category, which is 242 star, is 9 hours.
We will have an 18-hour stream one day, which is 242 star and Final Fantasy IX.
That's fun. I don't know if I'd do that. 242 is not my style, but either way. And also, I guess I should say I am not actually running this game for the event, but I will be running, I think, what is it, Super Mario 64 70 star and Pack and Roll Remix Any %.
Yes.
Both of which are also really, really great runs, and I would highly suggest tuning in for those too.
Yeah, CJ highly suggested Pack and Roll.
Yeah, Pack and Roll Remix is a game that like only I run, but it is epic. It's 10 hours.
There you go.
So I have an opportunity to actually completely break the credits in this first scene right here, but it's kind of precise. So I'm gonna so you're not able to, if you somehow fall off this moon, the game treats it like a Comet Observatory fall, where it like places you back in that bubble. But if you do it at just the right time, which is really, really tricky, you can kind of... Oh wait, I think it works. Oh, it didn't work. You can like end up in that bubble, and you just stay in that bubble for like 3 more scenes, and it's really hilarious. But instead, we're just gonna have to sit through these scenes. There's something else I can show off, though. First of all, Mario's bangs. There's coins behind this tree. And slow boost here. Or not.
Are those his teeth?
No, those are his bangs.
Oh.
You actually can see inside his bangs if you go into first-person mode in the credits, because he doesn't have his hat on. Also, I like grabbing star bits in one scene and then having it transition to another scene so it gets delayed. And you get Yoshi, so we can have some fun with that. I actually want to hold on to Yoshi for the end scene because of the funny thing I can do. Oh. And now I can annoy the crap out of Captain Toad.
Getting bullied in sales and Mario
And now we're gonna bully Bowser. Alright, so I'm gonna need to be listening very carefully here for this last part. Because this is the whole reason I kept Yoshi. If I fail this, then all of this was for nothing. So I'm under a lot of pressure now. Yeah, if you infinite flutter high enough there, you can just die in the credits. It's really fun.
Nope.
And the credits are still technically going on, by the way. Like, the game isn't soft locked or crashed or anything.
Interesting.
It was just dead for them.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much for playing my game.
There's actually like 3 different ways you can do that in this game. It's awesome. Alright, so that's it for SMG2 any %. I would show off the perfect run, but I've already wasted 6.5 minutes doing that. So I'll just throw it on over to the host.
All right. Thank you very much.
No problem.
This is,
Thanks for having me.
Great job there. Yeah. And looking forward to seeing you doing the 2 runs in Speed Doxathon.
Looking forward to do it.